Batteries fully charged. Launch ready for WWE Aftershock in 3, 2, 1. World Wrestling Entertainment Discussion is live. Cue host Owen Finch.
Aftershock episode 3.
Fuck, I fucked it. I fucking goddamn mouse, fucking. All right, just start again.
This is why I'm the champion.
I tried.
Welcome everyone to WWE Aftershock episode 3. This time I didn't screw up the intro. It was actually James that did it, the producer. And you're the producer. You're supposed to know better than this.
I tried, man. I'm sorry. All right, you guys go.
Yeah, we're here to talk about all things WWE for this week, and things have definitely changed this week, so we're going to talk about it. I'm the host, Owen the Birdman Finch, and I am here with the man that's the most active in our wrestling chat, who gives us all the news, make sure we don't miss it, whether it's right or wrong, Chris Dodd.
Hey! What's up?
So we picked a good week to say that this week, because most of the news was wrong last week, but we'll talk about it. And I'm here with that's making his debut on the show. The man I forgot that was supposed to have it a week ago, but I forgot to tell him we were doing a show last week, so he just stood around and did nothing last week. Lachlan Rampage, the man with so many nicknames that you can't even count him anymore, Stephen Coakley.
It's true. I have more nicknames than I do F's left to give on the whole Vince McMahon situation, which I'm sure we will get to.
I don't know who has more nicknames, you or Oi Dre. I think Oi Dre had a new nickname every week. At least you let them stick. So,
well, at least my nicknames led to victories.
Ooh. But yeah, we have some big stuff to talk about. We have we have 5 shows to review, but I think you guys only watched 3 of them. Chris probably only watched like 1 of them, but he's here anyways.
I'm here for moral support.
Yeah. But he's here for the news section, so I'm going to let you talk about the news stuff, Chris, because one of the news things I'll admit, like the Saudi thing I'll talk about, I didn't watch NXT Live, so I had that chat turned off, so I didn't get anything spoiled, but why don't you talk about all the news that's broken down, because a week ago this week, I think Vince, I don't think he had just come back, but he had just became the head of like the board of directors, the chairman of it and stuff. So do you want to talk about what's gone down all last week and how everyone was all worried last week and all nervous?
So Tuesday night, yeah, because it's not a Wednesday anymore. Forgot about that. Tuesday night, right after NXT, there was a report by a bunch of other journalists, not credible anymore, that were saying that there's some major news coming tonight, like Tuesday night.
Yeah.
It turned out that overnight, WWE was sold to Saudi Arabia.
Well, before that, even, I think it was like right before NXT. Don't forget about this, because this is why I think a lot of people thought it was true. Stephanie McMahon announced her leave of absence again, and that she resigned as chairwoman of WWE. And now Nick Khan, sorry, different Khan, is now the co-chairman of WWE. And I think the board voted Vince McMahon as like the chairman of WWE. But we'll talk more about that later, that was pretty big news before this. I'll just talk about this real quick. We found out the reason that Stephanie McMahon, I think, was going to take a leave of absence all along is she needed surgery on her leg because right afterwards, was it like a couple of days afterwards, she posted like a pic on Instagram of after her surgery and
it was like
stuff like that.
It was like a day or two later.
So we found out that she had been working hurt pretty much. I think this was what she was going to take her leave of absence for all along. So I wouldn't say there's. I still think after she recovers and everything, she'll probably still be like in a leave of absence and everything like that. But we shall see. But that's what led to everyone thinking that the Saudi thing was true because Stephanie McMahon resigned and stuff like that. And everyone was like, okay, so this is possibly true. But why don't you continue with the Saudi news and stuff?
Okay, so overnight, there was reports by a bunch of people. I think it was Cassidy Haynes and someone from, I think it's Danger Zone, DAZN. I think it's Danger Zone. It's how it's phonetically set out. But they both reported that WWE overnight was sold to a Saudi Arabian company. Shocking to say the least. Because I didn't think that Vince would have sold out for the almighty dollar. I thought he was a little bit more, had a little bit more dignity than that to sell to the Saudis. But it turns out, not even 7 hours later, roughly, it was all a lie. They both deleted their tweets. It was not true. WWE is not getting sold to Saudi Arabia. John Alba, Ariel Helwani, and like 4 other people came out and said, like, yeah, this is not true whatsoever. And there was a report that came out like the next day that said that when they heard the news of WWE being sold, executives in WWE were literally laughing.
Yeah,
because they thought it was hilarious the fact that they sold the company to a Saudi Arabian company, which is not even remotely true. So WWE is not getting sold to Saudi Arabia whatsoever.
At least right now.
No one has to panic. Not a fucking thing is happening. It's status quo. Nick Khan recently, as of like 2 days ago or so, had a meeting with Bob Iger of Disney and one of the head honchos at ESPN. So those are 2 companies that are in the running to buy WWE. As of right now, along with Comcast and NBC and whoever owns UFC too, I think is interested, along with Tony Khan and Shad Khan of AEW.
Before I give my thoughts on everything that's been going on and stuff like that, Steve, do you want to give your thoughts on Stephanie McMahon taking a leave of absence first, and then all the fake news story about WWE being sold to Saudi?
Yeah, so I think we'll take it one step at a time. With Stephanie taking her leave of absence, I think a lot of people should have seen it coming, but I think people just forgot. Oh yeah, she took a leave of absence, and then obviously Vince stepped down last year. She pretty much had to come back to help the company out. I'm not sure. It could have been a situation where Nick Khan wasn't, ready for that position entirely yet. So maybe she was there to help him get to where he needed to be. And now, with everything going on, maybe she was like, hey, you know what? I need to leave. I need to get this surgery done. I trust you. The company trusts you. I know prior to all this in like 2020, 2021, there were a lot of reports that Nick Khan was the one responsible for the firings that were ongoing that received a lot of criticism, but those were obviously never proven. It could have also been a situation where obviously Vince, who likely always has the final say, had said, all right, here's who you have to fire, now go do it. So he was the messenger. He wasn't the real, puppet master of those firings. So it could be a situation where the talent get along with him, or he's just kind of there running the business. Who knows? But regardless, I'm happy for Stephanie taking her leave of absence, taking care of herself physically and mentally. That's obviously going to come first, always. With the Saudi deal, I mean, who knows? Obviously, there's the rumor that it could have been set out as a feeler, meaning they wanted to see how people were going to react to it. And if that is the case, I hope WWE got their answer, which is, to put it very boldly, bad. I don't think there are any fans out there that really want that sale to go through. I don't think it will go through. Honestly, I think it's just a poor business move. I think just to be just straightforward, I think they're looking probably American for their buyer. I don't think they're looking internationally because they've always been an America-based company, Northeast-based. I think that's probably where they would like to stay. But obviously, whoever buys them will have the final say about that. But just regardless of it being Saudi Arabia, I don't think they want to sell internationally. I think they want to keep it in North America, would be my prediction. My personal wants for who I want to buy the company, I would like to see Disney buy them. I think Disney has plenty of, trying to think of the word, just options and different tools they can use to kind of mess around with that purchase. I know there are people out there who are nervous that they would make WWE completely PG. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think anyone who's seen some of the recent products that Disney's allowed Marvel and Star Wars to put out would know that they are not afraid to venture into the more TV-14 audience. You know, because WWE doesn't need to go TVMA anytime soon. I think staying TV-14 or even staying PG, but like borderline going into TV-14 every now and again is fine. Because the argument's been made before. It doesn't really matter what your program is rated for wrestling, whether it's TV-14, TVMA, or PG. You just have to write a good story, and you have to have good action, and that has nothing to do with what your rating is. So, overall, I just hope the sale gets settled sooner rather than later because it's obviously driving a lot of people crazy.
As for my thoughts, Stephanie McMahon taking a leave of absence. I think once it happened, I was a bit shocked, but then I'm like, oh yeah, she took a leave of absence like right before. She didn't really even get a leave of absence. If you listen to Triple H's interview he did right before Clash at the Castle, I think wasn't it leave of absence? They went to go on vacation, and then they found out they had to like basically run the company. So I don't even think she had like really a full week or anything like that. Like
I don't think
leave of absence. And obviously, if she needs to have surgery and everything like that, and maybe she wants to finally be a mom because she's been in the business since she was in like her early 20s and all that type of stuff. So I think she wants to take some time off, be with the kids and everything like that. Especially because that's probably going to be harder, especially if you're a chairwoman now and all that type of stuff. And obviously about the sale of, and obviously I'm cool with Nick Khan and Triple H, doing their thing. And I'm actually kind of okay with, as long as Vince doesn't get involved with like creative or anything like that, I'm okay with Vince being the position that he's in. Because I think we've talked, everybody that's talking right now on this call and everything, I think when we were talking, doing the Massasoit Wrestler and everything like that, I think we always wanted Vince to step down, but we were fine with him having some type of role. We just wanted him to be basically be out of creative and all that.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, what's interesting to add on to that is, I think a lot of people tend to forget is it wasn't just Vince McMahon. It was Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn. That was the creative team. And Kevin Dunn came out recently and said he hasn't heard a peep from him since he came back.
Yeah, so
he hasn't talked to him. He hasn't texted him, emailed him. He said, yeah, he's back. I haven't talked to him. So
yeah,
obviously I think that shows people may have had the wrong idea about Kevin Dunn, where once again, he was just a messenger.
Yeah. And as for like WWE, I was obviously very nervous when WWE was being sold to like Saudis and stuff because I've come out fairly recently and I haven't watched up until recently like much of the shows that happen in Saudi for obvious reasons and stuff like that. So I was like worried about WWE being sold to the Saudis because then you have to question do you want to keep watching the product and stuff like that. And then I was happy at least for right now that it's not being sold. I still want I talked about this last week. I want Disney to buy them, especially because Chris and I made a little bit of a list about lives we would like to see at Disney. We definitely want that Titus World slide. We want that to happen.
Rename Summit Plummet the Titus World slide.
We still want Titus to try to go down the Titus World slide and screw that up too.
It's actually a good thing that I do this on the side is my helping with people plan their Disney vacations, because now it's like, well, if this goes through, then like I am in a gold mine of business opportunities for my side businesses, because I got my Disney vacations, I got my here's what WWE's up to, And I think another thing to remember is WCW used to host their Nitros at MGM Studios back when it was MGM before it became Hollywood Studios. I don't know that they have the room to do it there anymore, but for anyone watching, if you've ever seen the ESPN Sports Complex that Disney has on their property, it's beautiful. It's big. They have a nice stadium there. They have plenty of open space. I could definitely see them hosting shows there, if not perhaps striking a deal where they moved the Performance Center entirely to the Disney property. Not to mention that they have their Disney Springs area is their kind of shopping mall plaza that they have for a lot of entertainment. They recently closed down the NBA experience they have there, I believe, so they have that whole building empty, and people for years have been saying, why don't we have a physical WWE Hall of Fame? I think, there's your opportunity right there. Disney doesn't know what to do with it. WWE wants to build the building. So
yeah. I mean, this is. Go ahead, Chris.
I agree with 100%. Like, I want it to be sold to Disney.
Yeah,
I said it in the last show. Like, I fucking love Disney. It's like I just went to Disney last July. It's my favorite place to go to on this planet right now. Love Disney so much. I would love to be able to go down to Disney and see WWE stuff there. That'd be so fucking cool for me as a WWE fan.
I'd be going with you to Disney the next time. So
first we had the House of Horrors. Now we're gonna have the House of Mouse match.
Oh my god, that'd be awesome. But yeah, I would still love it if Disney bought them. I obviously wouldn't complain if NBC bought them because that would make sense since Peacock. They own Peacock and stuff like that. So that'd be fine.
I'd seen Comcast as another potential buyer.
And then recently, as of this week, it was reported that is it Disney and Comcast that if they acquire WWE, they don't want Vince a part of it like any way, shape, or form. So, that would also, I think that also is why a lot of people probably want Disney and Comcast and stuff to buy it. So
yeah, I would like to see Disney buy it, and then just with whatever funds they can gather up, be like, you know what, Vince, here, take this money, and in exchange, you're done. No voting power, no business power. You are a full-on retired old man. Go home.
I mean, Swisser and I were just talking about this. Like, 77 years old. Go home.
You too good for your home? You too good for your home? Answer me.
He needs to fucking go home.
He does.
But anyhow, that's the start of the news thing. Let's go over some other news things that happened. This happened actually the same day, and I feel like it's not really going to get talked about as much. Mandy Rose did her first WWE interview since she'd been released WWE. She was on a TV show called is it the Tamilton Hall or whatever it's called?
Yeah, Tamilton Hall.
And this is a person that was on like the news at one point and stuff and got fired. I don't know what she was fired for, but she ended up getting fired. And Mandy Rose actually was on it like right away. I thought they would like wait a bit, but it was live, which was interesting. And I think one thing I want to talk about is it kind of sucked that this was Mandy Rose's first interview because you could tell the person that interviewed her clearly only did the research just for the interview. Because she mentioned that I think the last time she had to do something like wrestling related was when like The Rock was in the freaking company, and like the performance and everything has changed so much since The Rock's been there. So it's like you could just definitely tell that she hasn't watched the product for a bit. And Mandy Rose talked about her firing. I think it's about like what we all thought happened was she basically didn't know she was going to get fired until after the match. She just got told she was dropping the belt, which is what had been reported anyways.
Yeah, she got the warrior treatment.
Yeah. And then she talked about how, she was obviously very surprised because this interview took place the same day as New Year's Evil. So they talked about how she was supposed to wrestle on New Year's Evil and everything like that. She kind of talked about how it worked, because, a lot of people that watch this show what typically on wrestling fans. So she obviously had to explain like how it works and everything like that. Then she kind of talked about her website, and she basically kind of lied what was on the website. She basically said that there's no nudity on the website, which is a lie. I wouldn't say there's like full on like nudity, obviously, but obviously there's more nudity. Yeah, there's more nudity on the website. Like there's stuff on there where she's actually like getting dressed and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
She didn't talk badly about the company. She just tried to say everything happens for the reason. But the person interviewing her was kind of trying to push her to say something bad because, she felt like she was wrong by getting released and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's how they get their ratings, is they get them to freak out.
But Mandy Rose basically wouldn't talk about it. She talked about her brother who had passed like in October, like a couple months before her release and all that type of stuff. And then I think that was it. She talked about what's next, and she did talk about a potential return, which was the biggest quote, and like how she made like $1 million off the website. So that she basically said there'd have to be a conversation if she would take down the website. If she was going to come back and everything like that. They didn't mention how they used one of her photos. It was the same week she won the NXT UK. She unified the NXT UK and women's belts. And they basically talked about the photos she took. WWE ended up posting it on their, I guess, Instagram page, which I don't even remember that happened, but I guess it did happen. So they did say
it did happen, yeah.
They did say that was questionable considering the fact that it's supposed to be like family friendly and all that type of stuff. I guess that is a decent conversation to have, but I'm pretty sure that it was like the NXT account that posted it, and that's mainly where the NXT one is mainly for like the hardcore fans and stuff like that. So I do think that is a nice conversation to have, and I think that's the only argument that like really benefits Mandy Rose and all that type of stuff. But what we talk about, you because you haven't been able to talk about any of this Mandy stuff, Steve, because I'm gonna leave Chris for last, because I already know what Chris is pretty much gonna say, but let's let you talk about this first. I don't know if you saw the interview or anything like that, but
Oh,
there you go.
I mean, look, I cracked that joke a lot, but like I actually get where she's coming from a little bit, with the whole, they used my implied nudity photos before. It's like, yeah, they did. But at the same time, this wasn't like an out of nowhere thing. They obviously did have a discussion with her where they said, hey, take it down.
Yeah.
And she said no. And I mean, I don't think it really matters if it's wrestling business or not. That's just common sense. If your employer says do this and you say no and they fire you, don't be surprised.
I think it was more than one.
If you boil it down to the simplest denominator, that's it.
Yeah.
And I just think, it sucks, obviously. I saw the interview. I'm glad she wasn't really too upset about anything. She just, casually like, yep, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I do think she'll come back eventually. I think, she'll run with the premium content that she has going for a while now. I mean, plenty of other female athletes in the wrestling industry have done it, but as history has shown us, they all wind up shutting it down and going back to whatever company told them to take it down.
Yeah.
I think eventually she will, and my only hope is that when she does, she comes back, but I don't want her thrust right back into the title picture, because Mandy Rose isn't Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair, for all the complaining she gets, is still a damn good wrestler and can pretty much, and is someone who can take 9 months off, come back and be at a championship level.
For sure.
And Mandy Rose, for what it's worth, was probably the worst champion for the past year. I hated her matches. I thought she was good, but she wasn't great. The Toxic Attraction bullshit ran its course real quick.
Yeah.
I'd be watching it, and I fool myself to thinking I was watching a Britt Baker match, because I eventually realized it's the same thing. It's the leader of a faction who's good, not great, with two stooges who are okay, not good. Well, okay, actually saying red was okay is a big overstatement. But regardless, the point being is I don't want to say I'm happy she's gone, but I'm happy something got the belt off of her sooner rather than later because it was just boring as hell.
Yeah, I mean,
and Roxanne Perez is probably going to be one of those people who really establishes herself as champion rather than before, which is going to get mixed reception, but that's fine because it's better already. Worlds better than what we had. Yeah. And I just cannot wait for Vengeance Day, hoping she comes out still champion. But yeah, for now, just glad the championship reign's over.
Yeah, me too. I think I would like post in the chat occasionally every time she retained the belt, like Mandy Rose. It was the Jinder Mahal thing all over again, but we're like Mandy Rose has surpassed all these people as champion. Like I think she's like the fourth. They said she's the fourth longest reigning like NXT Women's Champion. Like,
yeah, I think she was like the. Was she the longest reigning NXT Women's Champion?
No, that was Asuka. She had it like for like 500 days, and the only reason she lost it because she got stripped of it because they wanted her on the main roster and they wanted her to not lose the belt. But, Shayna, and then Shayna, the reign she had like right before she got called up when Rhea beat her. That was the other one. There was one more, but I feel she definitely wasn't the longest. She was definitely close to it though.
Yeah.
And again, I think James and I talked about it before. I think had the Toxic Attraction thing been in the black and gold NXT, it probably would have stood out way more because that's not really something that they really see in it. I think Toxic Attraction came at a bad time because it was right when NXT revamped itself and it just really didn't stand out anymore. So it was kind
right.
of those things. But, we've been waiting a while. I think Chris wants to go off because I don't know if Chris saw this interview, but I know Chris is just waiting to explode right now. So he may not even explode.
Chris is the biggest Mandy Rose fan I know. Isn't that right?
Well, I'll have to say this. She's fucking stupid. Yeah, I get it. You want to make a quick buck. Show your tits online. Do your nervous, put your hair over your titties thing. Whatever you want to do. Make your fucking money. I don't care. But once it starts infringing on your contractual obligations, that's when I think it's fucked up. She chose being a slut and a skank and a whore over her actual fucking profession that she worked her ass off from the fucking very beginning to get better. She showed the PC every day. She was busting her ass to get to the top of this business, and she did. And what did she do? In a few months, she threw it down the fucking drain for simps. I don't get it. I do not get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. You have this career that you work so hard for, and then you rather just throw it away for the quick buck. But guess what? It's the trend. Guess what? In a few months, or even a year, I'll give it a year. People will move on. They'll go jerk off to someone else. They'll move on. Once they realize their content is the fucking same. It's the same shit over and over and over and over and over again. It's not anything new. It's just a former WWE superstar taking their clothes off online. Ooh, big fucking deal. People are going to move on. They're going to move on very soon and move on to someone else. Someone that actually shows full nudity. Someone who actually does other things.
And even then, like, I hate to say this too. If you see in interviews, you know the biggest regret China made was probably going in that direction rather than sticking it out. Trying to say
for sure. 100% agree with that.
Whether or not she wanted to admit it, I think any fan who knows their worth could see it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I think she regretted it in the end.
Clearly, I mean,
She sent him at the quick buck. Because at that point, she had burnt so many bridges in wrestling. That's like that was the only fucking bridge that she had left that she didn't burn.
Pretty much. And by the time China even came back, just as comparison, like, she obviously didn't come back to WWE. She came back TNA, and she had an awful, awful match.
Oh, yeah, with Kurt Angle. the tag match was just terrible.
Yeah.
That's the lasting impression that people have of her. Not her dominant run in the WWE, but the fact that she had that terrible match in TNA, and the fact that she went to the complete extremes to porn.
Yeah, and it's just sad.
It really is. It's sad because she died in almost disgrace.
Yeah,
like people were just making fun of her all the time because she did porn. Like, oh my god, don't look up China.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, okay, look up this, and this about China, they said they would immediately go to the One Night in China video with X-Pac. They immediately go to the porn videos that she made. Instead of saying, hey, why not instead of that? Why not go on to YouTube or WWE Network if you're in Europe or wherever else, or Peacock if you're in the United States, and look up a China match? Because although I personally wasn't the biggest fan of her, personally, I thought she was just average. Her aura made her special.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Mandy Rose thing. One last thing. This came out yesterday or maybe like Saturday. It came out over the weekend. Ginny from NXT UK, Walter's wife, is retiring. She ended up having a really bad injury. I think at some point last year because I remember she just disappeared last year. Like she wasn't even a part of NXT UK like when it folded and everything like that. And basically she can't really work through the injuries anymore, so she's retiring. Obviously it sucks when someone has to retire due to an injury and stuff like that. But as when it comes to Ginny, I think she'll still have a role in the company somehow. When NXT Europe gets going, I expect her to be like a backstage interview or something like that, or maybe one of the commentators there since they don't have Nigel McGuinness. Well, unless they sign him back, but I expected to have some type of role, whether it's announcing or something like that, and maybe a manager role since I always thought she was better. She would have been better in that role anyways. But I expect her, especially with how prominently. And that was a big Triple H signing that he got. I expected to have some type of role in the company. But what's everyone's thoughts on Ginny basically not wrestling anymore? Let's start with Chris this time because he's the one that broke the news. He's a nice guy.
To me, it was shocking that she ended up retiring. But at the same time, it's like what the story that she put out there. I was like, yeah, eventually you just get sick and tired of being beat up.
Yeah,
and she thought it was time. She did a lot for that brand in NXT UK. I would have liked to see if she would have been in NXT Europe. I'm pretty sure she would have been. But yeah, I thought she was really good. But yeah, I think she could be a good manager, on-screen authority figure, even a trainer. If they decide to keep the UK Performance Center up and running, which I think they will if they do NXT Europe again. Commentator, like you said, Owen, but yeah, like I think she could be multi-versatile in what she does.
What about you, Chris? I know you didn't really watch much of Ginny and all that type of stuff, but your thoughts on her retiring and all that type of stuff, future roles and all that stuff.
Well, I'm Steve.
I said, what did I say, Chris?
It's all good. It's all good.
Not allowed. He's failed us both.
Fired.
I know that was bad.
Well, I saw her occasionally wrestle just because I didn't really get into NXT UK too much, but it's always unfortunate and sad and tragic when someone has to retire early, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think as demonstrated with Corey Graves, there is life after in-ring action. Yeah, obviously he's another NXT wrestler who had to retire before his big break.
Yeah.
And they immediately put him on commentary where he flourished. He's a great heel commentator. I think Ginny could flourish in that same role. Obviously, she's married to Gunther.
Yep.
So
yeah, no, Walter, Gunther.
You could also, if you want, turn her into a manager and pair her with Imperium.
Yeah.
That way she still technically does get her main roster run, not the way she envisioned, but I definitely think you could stick her with the group and have her start managing because more than one mouthpiece doesn't hurt. They already have Ludwig, who's great on the mic.
Yep.
So you could expand that group. I would actually want to see that because Imperium was originally a 4-person group. So get it back to that 4. Just have Ginny in the role that Alex Wolf was in.
I think actually, if you remember, because they were Imperium wasn't as Imperium anyways. They were a group. It was I can say this because it was before he had this name now, Chris. So you don't need to be getting on my case for this. But it was Walter. It was Marcel Bartel and Timothy Thatcher, and I believe it was it Ilya Dragunov that was the 4th guy? I think that wasn't it WinConf, or I remember because they were a 4-man group in the Indies and all that type of stuff. And then obviously Fabian Eichner and Alexander Wolf joined in the NXT UK version and all that type of stuff. And now it's just the main 3. So now the question I have for you, Steve, if they do bring it up, do you acknowledge the fact that Walter and Ginny are married IRL, or do you just kind of keep it, kayfabe?
To about the same degree that Karrion Kross and Scarlett are engaged, or married actually. I forgot they finally talked about it. I mean, to the same degree, it's like everybody knows it, so they don't really make a big deal out of it, but they don't shy away from it either.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's all the big news we have. Any other news that we need to cover before we start talking about all the shows that's happened this week?
No, I think we covered it.
I think we're good.
Watts, it's going to be like a big news story that like WWE has been sold to like Disney while we're covering the shows and all that type of stuff.
Breaking news. Disney changing it back to the WWF.
That'd be interesting.
If only.
But yeah, let's go over
They get sued like crazy.
Let's review some of these shows now. Chris, you have the law notes because I
have to rescue all the pandas out of Animal Kingdom.
But yeah, Chris, you want to go over the law notes?
Kind of. I kind of forget what happens on the show, but I'm gonna have to go through into depth here.
Or do you want me to do it?
Yes.
All right, I'll do it. Let me get my notes up then, because I thought you had this prepared, Chris. I thought you had.
No, I didn't have any but effing prepared.
This is supposed to be your thing. This was your thing, and I was trying to put it onto this show, and you ruined it.
I know. I'm an awful human being.
So Raw took place. I didn't update the date in my notes because I thought you would have been prepared for this, but it was January 9th, 2023. We had the commentary team of Kevin Patrick and Corey Graves. It opened up. Kevin Owens came out to do a promo, and he went to talk about how he was going to defeat Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble and all this type of stuff. But he got cut off by JBL and Baron Corbin. And JBL went on to make fun of where was Raw last week, because he went on to make fun of Raw.
It was Alabama.
So he went out basically anything you would say about Alabama when it came to government and all that type of stuff. JBL made fun of him for it. And JBL actually did something good here. He reminded the fans that it was Baron Corbin that was the last guy to pin Roman Reigns, which was I like that they actually brought that up. I wasn't sure if they were ever going to bring that up. And Baron Corbin came out, and he talked about how Kevin Owens doesn't stand a chance at defeating Roman Reigns because if he had to have all this help and all this type of stuff to beat him, then he doesn't stand a chance. And he said he's going to win the Royal Rumble. So he entered the Royal Rumble match and said that he's going to be the guy that beat Roman Reigns, and that makes him better. And during all of this, Kevin Owens was leaned over in the corner and acting like he was sleeping. And then he woke up and said, I didn't realize you guys were talking. I was bored and all that type of stuff. It was really funny.
That's so funny.
So it led to so Kevin Owens challenged him to a match because he feels like that if he beats the guy that beat Roman Reigns, then obviously I'll have no problem beating Roman Reigns. So they had that match. They didn't have necessarily a lawn match, but it wasn't necessarily a squash either. And Kevin Owens went on to win the match with the stunner. And afterwards, he got attacked by the Bloodline minus Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns doesn't do Raw, and Sami Zayn was training for his match with Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens does a pretty good job fighting them off. He actually takes off Mike Rome's, the ring announcer's shoe, and like uses it against the Bloodline. And then he fights them, chases them off with the steel chair. And that was the end of the segment. That's the last we saw of Kevin Owens all night. What do you guys think of all this stuff? We'll start with
Loved
Steve.
it.
Let's start with Chris.
Okay, we'll start with Chris.
Right, I'm better. I loved it.
Mm.
That was great. Fantastic. It was fantastical. I love that Kevin Owens used Mike Rome's shoe. That was fucking hilarious. Who throws a shoe, really?
What do you think, Steve?
I thought the segment was awesome. I definitely enjoyed seeing, Kevin throw the shoe. That was straight attitude era vibes. I felt like just using anything and everything as a weapon.
Yeah.
But I think Owens was definitely all of us pretty much anytime JBL or Corbin hit the microphone.
There you go. Next, the Bloodline's backstage, and Adam Pearce is having them escorted out of the building, but he decides to that Solo Sikoa is going to stay. He has a match with Dolph Ziggler because that was like part of the deal that they had. He announces that there's going to be a tag team gauntlet match tonight. No, tag team turmoil match tonight, not a gauntlet match. Where the winners will face the Usos for the tag titles. There's a change. There might be a change with this, though, as we'll talk about when we review SmackDown. But the Usos get escorted out, and Solo Sikoa has to stay. We'll just talk about the Solo Sikoa Dolph Ziggler match now because I forgot to write it in my notes. Later in the show, Dolph Ziggler's being interviewed, and Mustafa Ali comes up, and he's upset with Dolph Ziggler that he rejected the idea of them enter the tag team turmoil match together. Because he feels that Dolph Ziggler owes him for costing him the U.S. title against Theory a few weeks ago. But Ziggler just tells him that Mustafa Ali just doesn't get it. And he says that he needs to have this match with Solo Sikoa. We had the match between Dolph Ziggler and Solo Sikoa. I thought they had like a really good match together. It was very good stuff. Solo Sikoa went on to win the match with not the Samoan Spike, but it's his the spinning solo. That's how he won. And then afterwards, he laid him out with the Samoan Spike. And then when he leaves, the Usos made their way back into the building somehow. I guess they technically did do what Adam Pearce wanted to, but they did leave. They just came back. So I thought, the Solo Sikoa, Dolph Ziggler, the Mustafa Ali stuff was all pretty damn good. I'm really enjoying Solo Sikoa on the main roster. I think he's doing really well for himself. What you got? Let's start with Chris again. What did you think of the Solo Sikoa, Dolph Ziggler, Mustafa Ali, all that stuff?
It's all good. That Solo Sikoa Dolph Ziggler match is good. Dolph Ziggler again, very good hand in WWE. Anytime you need him to make a guy look good, hey, let's put Dolph in there. Because he just fucking sells like a motherfucker and puts the guy over huge. Props to him at this stage of his career. For the last number of years or so, about 10 years or so, he's really made people look really, really fucking good. And everything was just good.
Steve?
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, Ziggler's just one of those guys who's always a good hand to go to when you need him to put someone over in a match. As per usual, they should be pushing him a little bit harder because he never really got his big break because when he did, it fell hard, but I don't think that's necessarily on him.
Yeah.
But with Solo Sikoa, I think that's a guy you gotta look out for in 2023. Out of everyone in the Bloodline, I think everyone's always looking at Sami Zayn being like, oh yeah, he's gonna be the one to turn on the Bloodline. That's gonna be the big turn. No, everyone sees it coming. Solo turning on them is going to be the big turn.
That'd be interesting. I wouldn't mind that.
He's going to go full Umaga mode, just feral beast, no promos, just beat the hell out of everybody. Snapping cigars, Samoan spikes.
That'd be cool if they brought back Armando Estrada to be his manager. That'd be cool. Next, Alexa Bliss did a promo. They were recapping everything that happened with like Bianca Belair the previous week. And Alexa Bliss just went on the commentary table and completely invaded the show. she talked about how Bianca Belair saw a different side of Alexa Bliss and how she resembles evil and she's really reveled in it. And she wanted to talk about how she's going to use that evil to take the Raw Women's Championship from Bianca Belair. And then the Uncle Howdy's like vignette went off. And basically everything that happens with Bray Wyatt, she did with Alexa Bliss, where she talked about her past with Bray Wyatt and everything like that. And then Uncle Howdy actually showed up on this show, which I don't think anyone really saw coming. Uncle Howdy came out, and the show just went off. Nothing really happened from this. I really enjoyed this. I'm really interested to see where this all goes. I like how it's taking place as two separate storylines, where Bray Wyatt kind of has his own thing going on, and Alexa Bliss has her own thing going on. I wonder if this is going to tie in somehow to the Bray Wyatt LA Knight match at the Rumble. This storyline, if that's just going to be its own thing. I'm really interested to see where this goes. Because now that we know that Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt, at least we thought so at the time, were like two different people, makes you wonder who Alexa Bliss is going to side with. But I'm really intrigued to see where this is going. What about you, Steve? What do you think of the Alexa Bliss promo?
I like it. I like that they're having her lean back into the crazy Alexa character a little more. I'm glad that Lily hasn't shown up again. I thought that was the dumbest thing.
Yeah.
Walking around with the doll. It was stupid. I'm glad they haven't brought it up again. I'm hoping if they're going to bring this back, they bring it back to Alexa just being more vicious and more violent as she already has been. You know, no need to have her swinging on a swing set anymore. No need to have her playing with dolls. Like, just have her go full-blown beast mode.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think she would definitely be someone to side with Uncle Howdy, whereas Bray Wyatt's going to be the one who's fighting it, because if you look, their storylines are going in reverse, or opposite directions.
Yeah.
You know, Alexa's kind of running toward Uncle Howdy, you know, being more vicious, more violent, where Bray's kind of running away from that, where he's trying to be more of a pacifist and be like, I'll fight if I have to, but I don't want to.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think of this?
I liked it. I think this Alexa Bliss gimmick is a little unpredictable. I agree with the fact that I think she sides with Uncle Howdy over Bray, where Bray's trying to fight Uncle Howdy. But it gets a little interesting with Bray's promo on SmackDown that we'll get to. But yeah, I mean, if Alexa's going to continue doing this and stay away from Lily, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind if they brought Lily up, like, obviously, like at least once, but it doesn't lead to anything, like her using Lily or anything like that, but it's just like in a locker room or something like that. But other than that, there's no need to go back, Lily. Next, we had Bayley versus Mia Yim. Bayley was accompanied by Damage Control, the tag champions, Io Sky and Dakota Kai. This ended up being a really competitive, really good match here. Eventually, Bayley also did a promo basically mocking Becky Lynch and all that type of stuff about how she's better than Becky Lynch. Eventually, Bayley sent Damage Control to the back because she thought she had this on her own. And eventually, Bayley rolled up Mia Yim, and she used the rope for leverage. And it led to a thing later in the night where Damage Control got interviewed, and they were just bragging about the victory. And Mia Yim came up and was upset that Bayley cheated, and it led to them beating down Mia Yim later in the show. So I like how they involved Mia Yim with this feud. Obviously, I think this is a bit of a change, though, because there's no AJ Styles. There's really no need for her to probably be in the OC really right now. So I think they're changing directions, changing course with Mia Yim. But I like everything that they did with Bayley and Damage Control and Mia Yim and everything like that. Chris, we'll start with you this time. What do you think of this?
Ooh. I thought it served a purpose. Get Mia Yim out of the OC storyline because it didn't make any sense anymore that she's in it. She was just accompanying them to ringside. So it kind of makes sense. Get her going on her own again. But yeah, I liked it. I felt like the beatdown story is going to be it served its purpose.
What about you, Steve?
Didn't we already talk about Toxic Attraction? Oh, wait, we're talking about Damage Control.
There you go.
Well, the different... Like, truth is, I'm not a big Damage Control fan.
I'm not either.
I think they're a step-up version of Toxic Attraction. You know, Mandy was good. Bailey's great. JC and Gigi are okay. Dakota and Io are... Actually, I would say Dakota's good. I would say Io is probably more than great. But at the level she's competing at right now as a tag competitor, I would say she's just good.
That's fair.
You know, I mean, she's being held back with the whole thing. I would hope in the future that it goes in a direction where they eventually drop the tag belts and, you know, Bailey is like, all right, well, I can't win any single titles. Let's see if you two can do it. You know, that's how you break the group up eventually, is she kind of says it nonchalantly, like, yeah, they don't have a chance. And then, you know, one of them ends up winning a title.
But preferably probably Io.
It would probably be Io Sky, I'd imagine. But no, I just, yeah. Truth be told, the Damage Control segments that really tuned me out. I'm just not a fan of the group at all. I've always thought Bailey was good, but I've just never seen her as an amazing competitor. But regardless, I am happy that they're getting Mia Yim out of the OC, like you guys said before. It made no sense to stick her in the group. I think they signed her and they needed something for her to do, and they were like, well, you know what? We need someone to go up against Rhea Ripley, and then that happened, once? Rhea beat her, and then ultimately, whenever they had matches, it didn't really make her an equalizer at all.
Yeah.
Maybe it did once. I honestly couldn't tell you. That's how forgettable it was. I hope they figure out something better to do with Mia Yim. I guess every time I see a Mia Yim, though, the problem is I ask myself the same question. How much longer does Keith Lee have on his contract in AEW?
That's fair, yeah.
Because I got nothing for her. I think she's a good competitor. I just don't know what her character is.
Yeah, they never really explained that, yeah.
And if she doesn't figure it out, she's probably going to get sent back down to NXT.
Yeah.
She's Meechin.
That's
what she is. That's her character. She's Meechin. That's it.
Urchin.
The merchant.
Next,
she buys from the Wrestling Thug.
Oh, no.
We'll let you talk about that.
She's the female Wrestling Thug. That's her character.
We'll let you talk about that in a second. Candice LeRae gets interviewed, and we find out that Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis were supposed to be in the tag team turmoil match, but Johnny Gargano has a shoulder injury, which is legit. They say he's going to try to come back for the Rumble. I think that's more him saying that he wants to be back for the Rumble because he's only been in like really one Royal Rumble match, but I think he actually wants to be in it as like a main roster competitor and everything like that. But Candice LeRae talked a little bit about that. Rhea Ripley comes up to her. We saw her like watching in the background. We've also, I think Nikki Cross was in the background doing this, and they've been kind of doing this lately where people will get interviewed and we'll see like Nikki Cross in the background. And if you follow WWE and like her on Instagram, she's doing promos recently where she's acting crazy in the locker room and all that type of stuff. So I kind of like how that kind of gets Nikki Cross going a little bit and stuff. But Rhea Ripley comes up and tells Candice LeRae that she doesn't have a chance of winning the Royal Rumble match because she's going to win the Royal Rumble match, and it leads to a match later in the show. We'll just talk about it now. It was pretty much a one-sided match. Candice LeRae got a little bit of offense in, but Rhea Ripley basically squashed her. I didn't like it at the time, but then I thought more about it. You know what? If they probably did fight in real life, this is probably what would happen anyway, so I kind of don't really mind the fact that they try to keep it like realistic and stuff. It just kind of seemed like a waste of Candice LeRae to kind of have this happen. I think they also wanted to have like Rhea Ripley on the show later on, so they didn't want to do much of a competitive match. And if you did see how long the tag team turmoil match lasted, I think they clearly needed a match to go short. which is why Kevin Owens and Corbin wasn't all that long, and why this match wasn't all that long. So I guess it is what it is, but not the best way I would have liked to see this go out. I think these two, if they really wanted to, could have had like a really killer match together, but it didn't end up going that way. So what do you think of all the Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae stuff, Steve? And I guess Johnny Gargano being out for a little bit.
Well, I mean, obviously it sucks that Johnny Wrestling is out of action for the time being, but he'll be back. No doubt about it. But one thing I will say for certain is it's weird. There's just certain squash matches I like and don't like, and every time Rhea Ripley is squashing someone, I like it.
There you go. So
she's just been on her game recently as a heel. I think the Judgment Day has had its ups and downs, but the one constant up has always been Rhea Ripley. I like how pretty much from the moment Triple H took over, commentary just started immediately being like, okay, Rhea's the leader. Let's not joke.
yeah,
Let's not kid ourselves. Rhea Ripley's the leader of this group. She's the one that does the most. Even though there's no chance of the Usos dropping the belts anytime before WrestleMania, I think if anyone outside of Owens and Zayn, due to that rumor still circulating, having a chance at beating them, it's probably Judgment Day.
especially too because then Dominic can go to SmackDown and they can get that storyline with him and Way going again.
Exactly. I think, I mean, that segment was on this show, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about it later. The one with El Chapo.
Chris, what do you think of all the...
Yeah, I'm good.
Chris, what do you think of all the Candice LeRae, Rhea Ripley stuff?
I just don't get why it had to be Candice LeRae. It just, I don't know. I didn't agree with it being Candice LeRae at all. That should have been like enhancement talent or something or whatever. She should not be in that role whatsoever.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I feel that, but on one hand, like, I get it, but on the other hand, it's like, I think she's done the enhancement talent for the past couple months, so now it's like you have to elevate it. It's like, okay, now we're going to step up to, mainstay lower card people, and then next month it'll be, okay, now we're going to step up to mainstay mid card people.
Yeah.
And then if my prediction is correct, in which I'm predicting Rhea Ripley will win the Royal Rumble for the women this year, then she becomes champion, and then it's okay, now we start squashing the top tier people.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, too, like, if they probably had a fight in real life, Rhea Ripley probably would wreck Candice LeRae, so it is pretty believable how it went down that way anyways, so...
I mean, if Rhea Ripley had a fight with Akira Tozawa, it would have gone the same way. She would have killed him.
We haven't seen him since.
Exactly.
So, next, Austin Theory comes out and does a promo. This was his first promo since he retained his title. And he brags about it, talks about how now he's the now and how he's above Seth Rollins now and all this type of stuff. And then Seth Rollins comes out on crutches because everybody thought that he was hurt last week when he wasn't. If you want to rant about that, Steve, Chris and I did that all last week. And Seth Rollins talks about how he may have lost to Theory, but he thinks if another opportunity came, he would get a match against him. I think he entered himself in the Rumble in this segment. And then before anything else really happens, Bobby Lashley returns, and he takes out Theory with a spear. And it looks like, and this was Lashley's first appearance since his suspension and everything like that. And we found out later in the show he gets interviewed, and we find out that MVP pulled some strings and got Bobby Lashley reinstated. Because if you remember, there was I don't remember how long ago it was, but there was a Raw where MVP and Adam Pearce went and had a conversation, and I think that was the Raw where he got Lashley reinstated. I think it was like the week after he got.
I think it was last week.
Yeah.
So I say, not to cut you off, not only was he talking to Adam Pearce, he had Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin with him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was. And then afterward, MVP tried to make amends with Bobby Lashley, and he wanted to get the Hurt Business going again. Lashley denied it, but said that they're good. So I'm going to complain if they put the Hurt Business back together. It'd be interesting to see what roles they go for this time because Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander are clearly baby faces. Lashley's clearly a heel, and MVP it looks like is going the baby face kind of heel route. So it'd be interesting to see what that happens. But I liked all this stuff. And I'm not really sure where it's going, but I like, the Rollins Theory feud. I imagine they'll have some type of face-off in the Rumble and stuff, and I like the build-up of possibly putting the Hurt Business back together. So we'll start with Chris this time. What do you think of the Theory Seth Rollins segment and everything like that?
I thought it was good. Bobby Lashley's back. That's awesome. He's clearly the heel. I like the fact that they get the Hurt Business back together. It gives them all something to do again.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good idea to put them back together.
Steve?
I'm very happy with this segment. I'm glad that Lashley is back. I'm glad that the Hurt Business getting back together storyline is clearly underway. Kind of like what you said, no one knows if it's going to be a heel or a face group because I think, well, yes, Cedric and Shelton are faces. I don't think anybody cares enough about them that if they come out the next week and say, "Oh yeah, no, we're bad guys," no one's going to argue with it.
Yeah, no.
Like they'd argue with it if Bobby Lashley or MVP did that.
Yeah,
and I think that kind of shows you that those two need the Hurt Business back together to be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not me taking a knock at them. That's just me saying, if the Hurt Business wasn't broken up randomly like it was, and it had gone a little longer, maybe Cedric and Shelton would have been a little more set by themselves.
For sure.
But I'm very happy the groups supposedly get back together. I don't think they'll be heels. I think at the least they'll be anti-heroes just because enough people want that group back together that they're not going to be stupid enough to be like, okay, we're going to make you bad guys and expect the crowd to boo you.
Yeah. Especially that's not how Triple H books either.
Yeah, I think they would be kind of like a good version of Judgment Day where, they're faces, but if you piss them off, they're going to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah. Now the question I have for you, because Chris and I were talking, what happens to Omos now? Because he was MVP's, MVP was his manager before this. Is he gone, or do you think he's going to have a...
I think one of two things happens. One is Omos and MVP get on good terms, and potentially they become a tag team, maybe for when the belts split. That way the Hurt Business actually gets all the tag titles by themselves.
Yeah.
Hashtag give Shelton Benjamin a world championship.
That'd be nice.
Time. But no, the other thing that I think is probably more likely is NXT.
Yeah.
I think he's one of those guys that they brought up as an attraction and it worked, but now he has to start being a wrestler, and they're realizing, yeah, he should have been in NXT for at least a couple of years.
Now let's be more specific. It wasn't they; it was Vince that wanted him to be the attraction.
Yes, and that was a good decision.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Everyone says every decision Vince made in the past 10 years is awful. No, just most of them were.
Yeah.
But when he had a good decision, it was usually like a bullseye. And I think bringing Omos in as an attraction was a good idea. But
yeah.
When it was time for him to become a wrestler, they probably should have sent him to NXT right away.
For sure. I'm gonna let Chris talk about this because he's a big fan of this superstar. They showed another Cody Rhodes vignette. Why don't you talk about it, Chris?
It's basically hyping him up coming back. He's getting the big Triple H push. My hero, my favorite wrestler in the history of professional wrestling, Cody Rhodes, is coming back. I love it. I can't wait for him to come back. I miss him to death. He's someone who has been badly missed on this product for a long time now.
Yeah.
Just when he was starting to get his feet wet back in WWE again, of course, that stupid trap has to tear. The pec muscle has to give way. But he's going to come back better, stronger, faster, better than ever. And I love it. Trying for him to come back.
I was gonna say I can feel it now, like the Triple H 2007 promo. We can rebuild him.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But
That'd be awesome.
not to cut you off. Continue.
But I can't wait for him to come back. I'm so fucking pumped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on that same level that Chris is on. Cody's my favorite superstar. I actually, when it was on sale, got his weightlifting belt for when I go to the gym, and I love it. Okay, one, it works great. It is a legit weightlifting belt, and it's awesome. And two, it looks badass. But no, I am really, really looking forward to this Cody return. Sadly, it's complicated. If we get to Rumble predictions at some point this month, I will explain it. I think he will kind of win the Rumble. I can explain that down the line.
Yeah. The thing
All right, I'll put you this way. Regardless of the Rumble, Cody will be in a main event at WrestleMania.
the thing Chris and I talked about last time is they still have to wrap up the Cody Seth thing, but the problem with that is Seth's a babyface. And Chris and I talked about this. Do you because there's unfinished history there? Do they turn Seth back heel? Because Cody's clearly going to be a babyface when he comes back, and Seth is also a babyface. And I don't know. I feel like he has so much momentum right now as a babyface that he really can't go back to being heel. So what do you think can happen when it comes to trying to tie up that loop?
I don't think Rollins is a de facto. He's kind of a de facto babyface. He's not a full blown face yet. He's a tweener. He's in between.
That's true.
And I think when Cody comes back, they decide to have him go right back into being a heel, then they're absolutely going to have him go right back into being a heel.
Yeah.
If that's what the storyline calls for, then that's what they're going to have him do.
Yeah.
Next, they should have.
Oh, I was going to say, just to kind of like briefly go over what I do think will happen. If we want to get into it down the line, we will. I think Seth and Cody will finish their business, and it will be tied to one of Roman's championships.
Yeah, and that's what should have happened anyways. Next, Bronson Reed had a video package just kind of hyping him up. He got interviewed right after that. I don't think this was necessarily in this point of the show, but I forgot to write it down, so I'm just talking about it now. He got interviewed about being back on Raw, and the Miz, who's doing the Miz TV with the Judgment Day, which we'll talk about in a second, wanted Bronson Reed for protection, and Bronson Reed said that he'll only protect him at a right price. And I guess the price wasn't right because he wasn't out there later on, so I guess Miz didn't have the money for him.
People only got a price for the $1 Million Man, not the Miz.
Yeah. And then, before I let Steve, I'm going to let you take over the Miz TV segment because I know this is something you've been waiting for. I think for like years. But what did you guys think of Bronson? What do you think of him being back? Because Chris and I forgot to talk about it last week. I like the fact that he's back. I really don't know what role he's going to fit yet. I thought he was going to be the Miz's heavy, but it doesn't look like they're going that direction. Again, I think the Gargano injury probably kind of screwed up those plans a little bit too. So, but yeah, I'm happy to see him back and stuff. I feel like he shouldn't have gotten released. Again, I think a lot of the people, we talked about this when we did the State of the Address, a lot of the people at Triple H is bringing back up people that shouldn't have even been fighting in the first place. I think Bronson Reed was one of those people. So, I'll start with Steve. What do you think of Bronson Reed being back and stuff?
I'm happy to see him back. I thought he was great when he was in NXT. Still kind of trying to figure out what his role is right now because obviously he just came back, so I can't judge him too harshly. But right now he kind of feels like the male version of Mia Yim.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a character. Obviously he did in NXT. Good thing about him is he can work well as a face. He can work well as a heel. So they can pretty much do either with him. I think obviously he's going to be a heel for a little bit now. Yeah, I mean, obviously it seemed like he was going to be stuck with The Miz, which is fine. I mean, everyone thought that was not going to work with Ciampa, and then it did. He just got hurt.
Yeah.
Which, if the timeline lines up, maybe Ciampa and Gargano come back together and reform DIY if they can get back on the right track.
That'd be cool, yeah.
But yeah, and I'm gonna say I would say stick Bronson Reed with the Miz because I don't think they have anything else for him, and if they don't, then just have him on for the occasional squash match victory.
Yeah. What about you?
I agree with that too. Also,
this is something that Steve has been pitching for years, and I want to let him break this segment down because I feel like I wouldn't be doing him justice. Talk about Miz TV with the Judgment Day. Dominic Mysterio's first appearance since he has been in prison. Talk about it.
Called it. So yeah, if you didn't catch the segment, they come out and Dominic is wearing shades. He's got a bandana on. Dominic is now the wrestling thug, which was like joke I pitched 7.5 years ago for Brad Maddox because we were trying to come up with an idea for him. I'm pretty sure we went around the room and everyone just kind of went, because Brad Maddox was bland as fuck. And then we get to me, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna. I didn't even think about it. I think I just words came out of my mouth, and then after the fact, I was like, what the hell did I just say? So basically, the idea is Brad Maddox would put on a cap, and he would just start stealing things, and he would be called the Wrestling Thug. I pitched a horrible segment where he was going to steal a Susan G. Coma check and run away with the money.
It's just awful shit.
But apparently Dominic Mysterio must watch the show because he stole my idea. Because he came out and he's talking about how hard prison is. He has a fake drawn on tear tattoo now. And he's talking about how he spent a week in prison. He said it was the hardest week of his life. And then the Miz obviously halfway through the segment's like, just so you know, my sources told me you were only in there for like 6 hours. And then the Judgment Day got pissed at him, like, oh yeah, do you want to reword that? He was like, yeah, I kind of do. No, that whole segment was hilarious, though. I thought, I think what Finn and Priest have been saying for the past couple months on Dominic being the best part of that group were proven to be true this week because Dom is just the perfect little asshole. He's great at playing that character. I think that he's the Sami Zayn of the Judgment Day. He's probably the least dominant in terms of performance, but the best on the microphone, the funniest.
Yeah.
And now it seems like going forward, they're going to have Dom be this, tough thug who's going to come out every week talking about how hard prison was and how it made him a man. It's going to be a wild road to WrestleMania when Rey Mysterio comes face to face with the Wrestling Thug. Now it will be mask versus mask because Dom's wearing one to the ring now.
The question I have for you now is, you got the Wrestling Thug. Is this everything you wanted it to be, or is this you kind of wish you didn't ask for it?
It's not quite the Wrestling Thug. We're going to call Dom the Wrestling Bandit.
There you go.
If they're going to continue this storyline with Dom, I want to see him just start doing like really, really stupid things, like walking up to people, like maybe like, you remember like when Ryback was like bullying random employees in the back?
One of them was Ricky Starks.
I say he'll just walk up to random people and like take them into the bathroom, and be like, "Hey, don't drop the soap or else." And then Dom just runs away. And you see Finn and just as the weeks go on, Finn and Priest are just like, "Okay, this is getting ridiculous."
That'd be awesome. Chris, what did you think of Steve's pitch almost becoming reality?
It's my living hell. I hate it. I hate it. It's the worst gimmick ever. I hate it.
But yeah, let's talk about this tag team turmoil match now. It started out with the Good Brothers and Judgment Day, which was Finn Balor and Damian Priest represented him in the beginning. They went at it for a bit. They went through an ad break. It was really good stuff. Eventually, Rhea Ripley got involved, and it led to Finn Balor rolling up, I think it was Luke Gallows, while holding the trunks and everything like that. I was actually cool with that because the Good Brothers have an out. I actually thought they were going to win since they were kind of doing stuff with the bloodline, but they were cheated out of it. And I think they had said that Carl Anderson had like just come back from Japan and so had jet lag, so they were able to kind of, make them still look good in defeat. Then it was Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. They hit a lot of dives and did some really cool stuff on the Judgment Day. It was obvious that Judgment Day was going to get past them, but I still thought they put up a good fight against Judgment Day, all things considering. And then it was Alpha Academy. I keep doing that.
But not so American Alpha.
Yeah. Otis did the Caterpillar of the match, which was cool because he doesn't really do that all that much anymore. And he went to do the Vader bomb pretty much, which is called the Otis bomb now, onto I think it was Damian Priest. And then eventually somehow Finn Balor got crushed as well. And it ended up hurting his shoulder. And I think it's the same shoulder that he hurt when he won the Universal title at SummerSlam 2016. But it led to Judgment Day getting a pin on Otis. And then Finn Balor got hurt, so he couldn't go. They had Adam Pearce and all the doctors come out ringside and say that Finn Balor can't go. So they either had to forfeit or Dominic Mysterio had to go in. And Damian Priest was hesitant about Dominic Mysterio going in, but they didn't really have much of a choice. Then the Street Profits came in. And this kind of worked because they've been feuding with the Street Profits. What great baby faces, by the way, the Street Profits are having. I mean, I guess it's luck of the draw, but these noble baby faces having to come in last to a gauntlet. What a great baby face tag team they are. And then eventually Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio defeated the Street Profits. And it's going to be Judgment Day going up against the Usos. For one of the tag titles, and there's a reason I'm saying that when we talk about SmackDown later on. The Usos came out and had a face-off with them afterwards. I don't know which two members of Judgment Day are going to get the tag title shot because it was technically Finn and Priest that were in the match, but it ended up being Dominic and Damian that actually won the match overall, so I don't know how they're going to kind of work that in. If they're going to do the freeboard rule or whatever, but I'm interested to see how that goes. I like the tag team turmoil match for the most part. I thought, everybody did really well. The Judgment Day were clearly the Iron Man of the match, so I thought that was really cool stuff. I like the fact that Judgment Day is going for at least some type of title because maybe it gives Damian Priest something to do. Because I remember Chris and I talked about last week how it just kind of felt like Damian Priest was kind of in Judgment Day. He's not really doing much, so hopefully this can kind of give him something to do for a little bit. But the tag team turmoil match I thought was really good. Again, it's one of those things, though, the tag team turmoil matches, it has that issue with the gauntlet match where they basically just kind of don't really book much of anything. It's all just a match and everything like that, but I guess it is what it is. But yeah, Steve, what did you think of the tag team turmoil match and everything?
I thought it was great. I thought the match went really well. I thought everything went smoothly. I thought the little side thing they did there with Finn hurting his shoulder and then Dom having to come in for him was very nicely done. Definitely a freebird rule if they win the belts, which I don't think they will ultimately because it's the Usos.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this match, kind of what you said with the Street Profits coming in last. I don't think this match wasn't about anyone other than Judgment Day. This was about them coming in first and making them look good. Because if anyone's going to go against the Usos, you need to look good. And the fact that they ran the gauntlet and still came out on top shows that, they're legit. So it's going to be a good match for the Usos. I think come time for the match, Usos will probably be the de facto baby faces.
Yeah, probably.
Because I think where Roman's the heel, like, I don't want to call the Bloodline tweeners. I'm just going to say they're over heel. They're the NWO.
Mm-hmm.
They're bad guys. They're not going to do anything good, but, you know, the people in the back hear you cheering them, so they're not going to ignore that either.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anyone that's like faces, it's probably the Usos, like you said, out of the group. But Solo's clearly a heel, and Roman's clearly a heel, and Sami Zayn is
Sami Zayn.
Yeah. But yeah, Chris, your thoughts on the tag team turmoil match?
Again, not a fan of turmoil in any way, shape, or form. I feel like it's lazy booking. Just throw these people in here in a tag battle royal or a regular battle royal, because we have nothing to do. We have nothing for them. But overall, I think the right team went over in the Judgment Day. From what I've seen and read online, it's going to be Dom and Damien as the tag team.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be a free bird rule. I think it's just going to be those two. But yeah, I agree too. I think the Usos are more face. Sammy's in between. I think he's more face than on the tweener side of things. Roman's the heel and Solo's the heel.
So that was Raw. Let's do letter grades for Raw. I gave Raw like a B. I thought it was a really good show. Really nothing to complain about. It wasn't a great show though, but I thought it was a really good show. But what did you think, Steve? What would you give Raw?
Yeah, I'd give it a B as well. You know, good, nothing great, nothing. I think the standout moment of the night was definitely the Miz TV segments. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I'm gonna say B. I think that's the average for Raw now, which is good because during the Vince McMahon era, I might tell you like the average is probably like a C.
What about you, Chris? What would you grade Raw?
I give it a B plus.
Oh wow! And that half of that tag team
B plus. That's just
B
as good
plus.
as Daniel Bryan is.
Cody fucking Rhodes.
And he wasn't even on the show. What's gonna happen once he's on the show? Like that's gonna
A
be fucking
plus.
Yeah. All right, let's go through NXT New Year's Evil now. We had Booker T and Vic Joseph on commentary for the show, which led to some interesting lines by Booker T, which we'll talk about. We had the intro. They always do like a nice intro. It was New Year's Evil, so they always do a nice intro. This time it was Chase U. They were back to school now. So Andre Chase gave them a homework assignment where they had to watch NXT New Year's Evil. And I think he promised Thea Hill extra credit if she won the Battle Royal. I wonder if Thea Hill got exempt from the homework assignment because it's kind of hard for her to watch New Year's Evil and prepare for the Battle Royal at the same time. So I kind of wonder how that worked out. They went through all like the matches and everything like that. I feel like we all need to apply to Chase U because it just sounds like you just learn about wrestling pretty much, and I think that's a perfect fit for us. So. The only thing I'm scared of is freaking him. You do not make Andre Chase mad. He will not let you hear the end of that. I think he swore. He definitely swore again on this doing this show. Like that's scary.
Andre Chase's temper tantrums are probably every week it happens. The funniest thing that happens on NXT, just him losing his shit on someone. Like, what did you just say?
Yeah. What do you guys? Because it's kind of a quick thing. What do you guys think of the intro with the Chase U segment and everything?
Liked it.
Same. I loved it. Anything Chase U has done for the past year has just been gold.
Yeah, especially I think it actually saved Duke Hudson's career because I wasn't a big Duke Hudson guy until he joined up with Chase U.
Yeah, obviously that turn's gonna come at some point.
But I'm not sure now because I was thinking that it would, but I think now that Brody Hayward got released, they may keep him in there as a babyface.
I don't know. It'll still come, but the only problem is they actually have to push Chase U as a credible. Well, not Chase U, but Andre Chase is like a credible, contender.
But yeah, going through the show. It kicked off with Tony D versus Dijak. Really good brawl here. It was really a brawl. I like how they structured this match. Eventually, during the ad break, Dijak handcuffed Stacks. Is it Stacks? Stacks is the guy that's there now, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
To the ropes, so that way he couldn't interfere in the match anymore. I thought at some point he's just freaking manhandling him throughout it, and eventually, Dijak has it set up to go for his big boot, and what's his name? Stacks went into the ring and offered to take the bullet for him, but Tony D says, "No, this is me. We're family," and he pushed Stacks out of the way, and he took the big boots. And Dijak ended up winning the match, which got him a North American title match at Vengeance Day. It was announced over the weekend because Wesley was out there on commentary. Booker T was just ragging on Wesley for, not just waiting for his championship matches. He did it for like 5 minutes. He was just yelling at him for no reason. That was really mean. Booker T's,
Yeah. There you go.
Booker T is just like an angry grandpa sometimes when he's on commentary. Like, at least that's what I think anyways. I don't know if you guys think that, but that's just my opinion. I like this match a lot. I like, I think Chris and I talked about last week when Tony D became a babyface because he officially turned last week, I think. No one really reacted to him. This time that was a different case. And I'm actually kind of into seeing like a Tony D babyface one. I think that's going to be pretty cool. And I'm happy Dijak is back to being Dijak again. I think it's funny though because if you go on his Instagram, he's still Tebow on Instagram, which is pretty funny. But I really like this. I like the match a lot. Did you guys see NXT or am I just talking here?
Yep, I did.
What do you think of the Dijak Tony D match?
I thought it was good. I was going to save this for my final thoughts on the show, but it just was so apparent from the get-go of this show. Booker T might just be the worst announcer in wrestling today, or commentator. And it just comes down to the old expression, less is more, because he does not shut up.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay if you're talking about the match, but he would just be ranting on something, and every other word is yeah, dog, shucky ducky. every 5 seconds of the guy.
Yeah, I know.
He just kept going and going, and it got to the point where I almost considered just muting the TV and watching the in-ring action, because the in-ring action was good all night.
Yeah.
But just right from the get-go, Booker T does not shut up.
This is the worry I had when we talked. I think you had to leave early, but when we talked about it, because it was that week when we did the WWE State of the Address, that like the commentary team had changed up. This was one of the worries I think that we had. It's probably good to have him there because obviously a good veteran in the business, but just not behind the booth.
Yeah, have him become a manager. I'm sure he'd be great at managing someone.
I mean, I don't know how he's managing. He's somehow worse than Chris Jericho on commentary, and that gets pretty bad sometimes too. So,
well,
I think Jericho's more tolerable now because now he's a heel again, so it kind of works. But
Jericho knows when to pipe down.
Yeah, but yeah, Chris, what did you think of the? If you saw the match, what did you think of the match? And I know you don't care about commentary sometimes, but Booker T on commentary, if you want to say anything about it.
I thought the match was great. I thought it got Tony D over like a freaking star in defeat. And same thing with Dijak. He looks like the old Dijak again.
Yeah.
Really good opener. And as for commentary, Booker T, the greatest of all time. Come on.
There you go.
Come on. He's the best commentator in the history of professional wrestling. You don't tell me you don't like shucky ducky quack quack. Come on.
It was funny. It might have been funny the first 18 times.
Shucky ducky quack quack. Yeah, come on. The best.
Anyhow, continuing.
Shucky ducky. Did I tell you I was in Harlem Heat?
You did say that. I'm pretty sure he's upset that the New Day broke his record of tag team title wins too, or something like that too. I think he said he actually has 16. He did like research on it or something, but I'm not sure. But no, he's not mad that the New Day did. He's mad that Kofi did. That's what it is. But anyhow, next, Toxic Attraction got interviewed, and they talk about the Battle Royal and everything like that, and they're upset with Roxanne Perez for ruining Toxic Attraction. It's kind of awkward a little bit because they don't mention Mandy. They just mention that like she ruined Toxic Attraction somehow, but they never mention Mandy Rose or anything like that, which is weird.
Yeah, Roxanne Perez comes out. Yes, do tell. How did I ruin your group exactly?
Honestly, I feel like they need to be part of the storyline now. And then they mentioned that by the end of the night, Toxic Attraction will win the Battle Royal. And then they had Dimitro ask, well, which one of you is going to win? Because only one of you can win. And then they kind of do a thing where, like, they act like they're going to turn on each other, that type of stuff. Decent little interview there. I'm not going to try to critique their promo skills right now, obviously, because they're in a bad spot right now because they just lost their main mouthpiece and things like that. So I'm going to let it play out. But what do you think of Toxic Attraction's interview? You could just give one-word answers if you want, since it was kind of quick.
Terrible.
Okay.
Britt Baker.
There you go. Next, we were supposed to get the Creed brothers versus Indus Sher, but only Sangha comes out. I don't know where Veer Mahan was. Veer, whatever.
Wait. Are you telling me Veer didn't show up? Wait for it. Again.
Yep. But Sangha comes out and he says that Veer, I think they tried to say that he was injured or something like that, so they couldn't have the match.
It was actually his father passed away.
Oh, okay. But they said that he was injured or something. And then, so Steve, I think you owe Veer an apology then, because his father passed away, and you're trying to say that he didn't show up to the show. I think you owe
that may be, but the record still stands. Veer didn't show up again.
Is it one of those things that used up too many excuses, so he can't buy it anymore? So
as an old acquaintance of ours used to say, excuses.
There you go. I don't know if I would even call him an acquaintance, but okay.
We'll just go with that.
But anyhow, I definitely don't think Chris would call him an acquaintance. But anyhow, so Sangha comes out and he says that there's not going to be a match, and one of the Diamond Mine members, Julius Creed, gets on the mic, and they just want to fight right now, and they get attacked from behind by Jinder Mahal, and they both beat down the Creed brothers. Jinder Mahal, just lays them out and stuff like that. And I really like this. I like that they're putting Jinder Mahal. It looks like back down to NXT for a little bit. I think it gives him something to do. And it looks like that the Indus Sher is going to be with Jinder Mahal, which I think is pretty cool. I know it wasn't like this because I know Veer has history with Jinder Mahal. I kind of would like them to get Shanky to go down there with them because I think Shanky could be a nice addition to the group. And they do something with it later, but I'd like to see Valentina Weiss or whatever her name is get put with them as like that woman because I feel like she could be good with Jinder Mahal and everything like that. But what do you guys think of this, of like Jinder Mahal being back in NXT and obviously Indus Sher being put with him and everything like that? We'll have with Chris this time because I'm a nice person. I'll let him go first.
Thanks for being a nice person, even though you're not. I thought it was good. I kind of liked it. Although the following segment was cringe as fuck.
Yeah.
With Valentina Ferraza. I literally was cringing the whole time.
Yeah. What do you think?
That might be one of the worst segments I've ever seen in my life.
I'll let you talk about it when we get to it then. What do you think, Steve?
I'm on the same level with that. I think what's her face being with Indus Sher would be a good move. But yeah. Not too much to say. I'm happy Jinder is back down in NXT because it gives him something to do. I've always thought Jinder was actually great. Like, he can do, I wouldn't say he's a 5-star wrestler by any stretch of the imagination, but he can get a good 4-star match out of people, and people can get one out of him.
Yeah.
I think he was I still look back and say, you know what, he was actually a decent champion. I know what the ratings were, but you know what? After years of them having heel champions who failed to get over as a heel, and then to have him come in and just have so much hatred for whatever purpose people had, it was good. It was nice. It was a fresh change of pace.
He was just it was just the fact that, I mean, it's all Chris's fault, I still think, the fact that we got that anyway, because he had to go on that SmackDown and test Jinder, and oh boy, did they ever test him all right. They tested him, Chris. And,
right to the fucking top.
You should have been more specific. I think he got the biggest pop I think I've ever heard Jinder Mahal get when, he showed up at NXT and everything, too. And it's kind of cool because he was part of NXT, like, when it broke off, it became a developmental brand. He was in like the first ever tournament and everything like that. So it's kind of him going back to his roots a little bit. So
he's ascending to his final level. He will turn into a hallway in the Performance Center and therefore be known as Jinder the Hall.
That'll be awesome. The next, Pretty Deadly's backstage, and they're getting ready for the match, but then they find out that the match is right now since the match between the Creed brothers and Indus Sher got called off, so they have to go wrestle right now. The New Day come up and tell them about it, and they're all freaking out and everything like that. It was really funny. And then next, I'll just break down these next two segments real quick. Actually, Chris, break down that backstage segment with Sangha and Valentina Veloz or whatever, because I know you want to talk about that. That's A+ quality stuff right there.
Fucking shit salad, shit soup, trash salad, trash segment. They were backstage, and Valentina Ferrazzo was saying how nice they are. They're just so nice. And then she's gonna fight someone. Apparently, I think. I don't know. I forget how the
Electra Lopez.
I was like, "Fuck!" I'm like, "This is fucking awful. This is garbage segment that didn't need to be on the fucking show."
What did you think, though, of the Pretty Deadly backstage segment? What did you think of that?
That was good. It was funny. It was witty. It was funny.
Steve, what do you think of those two backstage segments?
I don't know. I've just never been a big fan of Pretty Deadly, honestly. I think they're decent, but I think they're someone who belongs in NXT. They still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
I think they're good on the microphone, and I think their character work is great, actually. I think on that end, they're good. Like, when I say good, I mean, like, main roster ready. Just performer-wise, I think they're still kind of coming into their own of pushing themselves. I feel like they haven't had that one big match yet.
For sure. I think we talked about it when we did the State of WWE address. It's definitely a team I think Shawn Michaels likes more than anyone else because I think it seems like to him, they remind him of what he was like when he was younger and all that type of stuff. So, next, we have the tag team gauntlet. So that's why I also didn't like the fact that they did the tag team turmoil matches. And we had to see one on NXT. I mean, this was different, I guess, because it was more of a gauntlet. But Pretty Deadly have the gauntlet, and they have the face three opponents. The first opponents are the Rockers, sort of. It's just some team they put together, and they call the Rockers. Obviously, Marty Jannetty. Honestly, they probably would have just squashed Marty Jannetty with how his mental state is lately and all. I mean, I guess I say lately. That was within the past couple of years. Maybe he's improved since then.
Marty Jannetty still can't walk. Just sexy Kurt.
I mean, apparently he murdered someone. He was like 13, I guess, or whatever. I don't know, but
he did. No, he didn't.
Yeah.
That's some serious CTE.
Yeah, but they squashed the Rockers really fast. This was actually funny because Booker T was mentioning that he's like seen them in like his wrestling school and all that type of stuff, just kind of trying to hype these guys up and all that type of stuff. But that obviously was fake, I think. I mean, they could have been, but it's Booker T. Sometimes you can't take everything he says as serious. Sometimes. So the New Day come out and basically say like, no, this isn't happening. You have to face real credible tag teams. They anticipated this, so now they have to face two of the best tag teams. And first is Malik Blade and Adias Anofe, which I predicted was going to be one of the teams they faced. and they ended up having like a really good match. It was actually points I thought like Inoue and Malik Blade were going to win, but it was not to be. Eventually, Pretty Deadly put away Liga Inoue with spilt milk. And then they were meant to face Brooks and Jensen. But then backstage, you see that Brooks and Jensen have been beaten down by an unknown people. And we found out that it was Gallus minus Joe Coffey. I don't know where he was, but
he ran out of coffee. So now he's just Joe.
Yeah. So Gallus come out and they squash Pretty Deadly. There's actually, they didn't mention it on commentary, but if you remember, I believe it was Pretty Deadly that like beat Gallus for the NXT UK Tag Team titles. They didn't mention it on commentary for some reason. I think just because the commentators didn't really know about it. Vic Joseph probably didn't get a chance to because Booker T wouldn't stop talking either. So,
yo, Joe, did I tell you about the duck?
In the shock.
Booker T is a big fan of Pretty Deadly too, also. So that's why he, But Gallus completely squashed, Pretty Deadly. And it looks like we're going to get Gallus versus the New Day, which I really want to see that. That would be really good stuff. But I like the tag team turmoil match, or the tag team gauntlet match. And I really like the way that they brought Gallus back and everything like that. So what did you think, Chris? Because I'll start with you this time.
I thought it was a nice way to bring him back. Gallus. It's good to see him back. And they should have won.
Yes.
It wouldn't make any sense to bring him back just to not fucking just have him lose. No. But yeah, I agree. Like that's gonna be a really damn good match too. New Day versus Gallus.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
I agree. I'm looking forward to New Day versus Gallus. I think that's going to be a very good match. Kind of continuing what I said about Pretty Deadly, though. I know I said they need some of that work for their in-ring ability. The main roster might be the place to get that. I think I would personally be okay if this is their write-off. Maybe they stay around for one more week and they're like, no, come on, screw Gallus. We can beat them. And Gallus, to make an example out of them for the New Day, just beat them down like crazy.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
If they annihilate them, and then next thing you know, they're on SmackDown or Raw.
Totally fine. Like the beatdown never even happened, too. Like it just never happened.
After WrestleMania, that
happened. Next,
next to the brace.
Next, we had Julius Creed backstage, and he's really upset. Ivy Nile comes up and says that he should be checking on his brother, but Julius Creed said that he's going to have a match with Jinder Mahal and tells Ivy Nile just to focus on the Battle Royal, and then that was really it. Not a lot happened there. What do you think of this, Chris? Seeing this great backstage segment right here. It was like whatever.
Yeah,
as bad as
it set something up, so it didn't matter. It set something up.
Hey, maybe
I just gotta say, Julius's father, Apollo, would be very proud of him.
Next, Carmelo Hayes is at the diner, and pretty much what this segment is it's setting up a tag match, and it's Carmelo Hayes making fun of Apollo Cruz's gimmick, and Trick Williams making fun of Axiom's gimmick. I like how he did the thing with the mask where you can't even like see him or anything like that. And I like how they just giving shit that like Carmelo Hayes is writing stuff down. It's like you can just do this stuff. You don't need to like write this stuff down. Like I thought this segment made me laugh. It was hilarious. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. What do you think of this, Steve? This segment where they made fun of two characters right here.
It was pretty funny. I think Carmelo Hayes is definitely someone who has an it factor. If Grayson Waller isn't the one to dethrone Braun Breaker, then Carmelo Hayes definitely is.
Yeah. I think the reason, by the way, because I think he would have been called up by now, but I think the reason they're holding it back on some of these call-ups is because NXT is going on the road, at Veterans Day, so they want to make sure, they probably need to make sure they have the talent they've been building up for all this time, so that way they be a venue. Because that's why I think the New Days are there right now, too, just because that's a name that they can put there and stuff like that. Honestly, might be why Jinder's there, too. He's a name, so... But yeah, Chris, what do you think of the segment at the diner with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams?
Yeah, it's okay. It's a segment.
Yeah. I want to go to this diner, by the way, that Apollo Crews he's going to. I don't know. Like, he always goes. I notice he never eats any of the food there, too. He just
sits there and fucking has this little PTSD flashback every time.
I remember.
He just doesn't eat.
Yeah.
This man should be sickly right now. But he doesn't eat.
I know. Then again, maybe he eats it when the cameras get shut off, though. Who knows? But next, though, we have the countdown to the new year, which is weird because it's January 10th when the show took place. So that must have been a long-ass countdown. But
10 days after the new year.
Yeah. But
the post 10-day countdown.
The countdown was for Tiffany Stratton, which I was honestly really disappointed about. I thought it was going to be like a big signing coming in or something like that. I didn't think it was Chelsea Green because the person was a blonde and Chelsea Green's not a blonde, but I thought it was going to be like somebody big. And then when it was Tiffany Stratton, I was just like, well, that's disappointing. She comes out and she talks about how pretty much since she's been gone, no one's been able to fill the missing void of her being gone. That everyone's just tried to fill it, but they haven't been able to fill it. And now she's back and is going to put NXT right back on track. So she tells everyone to stay out of her way, and that was really the segment right there. I really don't think Tiffany Stratton's all that good on the mic, and because of the gimmick that she has to do like this annoying voice, like a snobby, annoying rich girl and all that type of stuff. And yeah, I really don't know if she's all that good of a wrestler because the only matches I've really seen her have against people that like clearly carry her to a good match, like a Roxanne Perez or like a Cora Jade or a Io Shirai or something like that. So I really don't know how good in the ring she is, and she's been out of the ring obviously for a while. But it'll be interesting. But yeah, Steve, what did you think of the comeback of Tiffany Stratton, the epic comeback?
I knew it was her. I knew it was going to be her, and I was still just disappointed. I'm not a fan of her at all. I think her gimmick sucks. I couldn't tell you what they see in her because, and this is a Triple H Shawn Michaels run operation. I do not know for the life of me what they see in Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you. She's just boring, dull, can't talk. And the only void she's filling is the one where Jillian Hall's annoying voice was. Congrats, you filled that hole.
There you go.
Because we clearly needed that filled.
Chris, what do you think of the big epic return of Tiffany Stratton? Now that NXT can get back on track with her back now. It's great.
Besides the fact that she got fake tits, she sucks.
There you go. Next, Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter are backstage, and they get
Blaine McBlanderson.
Yeah, and they get interviewed about being the longest reigning NXT Tag Team Champions, which I can't even believe that was the case, but I guess it was. And they talk about it, and then once when they leave, they see the cameras see Tiffany Stratton about to get in, so the person goes to interview her, but she says no interviews right now, nothing. I think she like took the camera afterwards, and, like smashed it onto the ground and stuff, like just left. That was mean, but this was whatever. I don't know if it's setting up like a tag title program between her versus like Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro or whatever, but I really don't know. I don't know if this was just a segment to fill time or whatever, but what did you think of this backstage, this A+ backstage segment right here, Chris, of the tag champions and Tiffany Stratton's post-return interview?
I will say this. It sucked. It was awful. It was terrible. Again, another horrible segment. I can't think of a more bland, generic, uninspiring, boring team than Katana Chance and Caden Carter. cannot think of a more blander fucking team in wrestling right now than them.
Yeah.
They suck. But they have the whoop 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 whoop, and that's all the people like about them. Because they have zero fucking talent. All they care.
Steve, what do you think of this backstage interview segment?
Well, I'm trying, Chris. I'm trying to think of a blander tag team, and I think you're just right on this one. They're the opposite of what I think of Pretty Deadly. They're good in the ring. They're both solid performers, but they have so little character. It's almost like they have negative character. They are very bland. Caden Carter and Katana. I used to date Ricochet and be on American Ninja Warrior. And that's all I really know about either of them. It's just but I get why they're the NXT Women's Champions, because I genuinely mean this. The NXT Women's Tag Championships are the most pointless, meaningless titles in professional wrestling today. There's no other tag teams of women in NXT. And if there are, I'm clearly forgetting them because they're not that good. It would make 1,000 times more sense for them to do what they were originally doing and have the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships defended tri-brand. All three brands.
And it actually worked this time because Triple H is running everything this time around, too.
Yeah, it would. I think the best thing to do would, and like the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, for as much crap as people gave Vince, Triple H is doing kind of better with it. I mean, he brought back Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Great. Who really has a chance of beating them? Because the problem is there are no other women's tag teams that can really go up against them either. They're just two good competitors that you shoehorn together. So I think that's one thing, personally, that Triple H really hasn't gotten any better. He signed two people. He signed two people and ultimately stuck them together.
Yeah. Especially, too, because he, threw the tournament together, I think it was, right after SummerSlam, pretty much, and threw a bunch of tag teams together and all that stuff.
Why Raquel and Aaliyah won, only to drop them right back, I will never know.
Yeah.
I like Raquel and I like Aaliyah. They're both great singles competitors. I don't know why. I think also the best thing for both championships is NXT Stand and Deliver. Merge them.
If you remember, too, by the way, Damage Control lost the belts to Asuka and Alexa Bliss and then won them right back at Crown Jewel. Too.
I totally forgot that. They did. Why? I don't know.
But anyhow, what about the Tiffany Stratton part of the interview? I noticed no one really cares about that part. Was it just kind of whatever? Or
she sucks. I said,
she's just awful.
No talent.
She sucks, and the fact that she sucks is probably why she got a job. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Fake tits, no talent.
Next match was the NXT Championship match. It was Braun Breaker defending against Grayson Waller. I was kind of curious why this wasn't the main event, but with how they finished, I completely understand that. I figured they were doing some type of screwy finish, or somebody was returning and someone was showing up in the Battle Royal as a big sign-in. So they were okay. But I thought the match was really good. I like that Grayson Waller was always one step ahead of Braun Breaker for the most part. There was even one thing where he went for his rolling cutter or stunner or whatever, and you thought Braun Breaker countered it with a spear, but Grayson Waller actually did a high knee. That was really cool. So it was a counter for a counter type of thing. Eventually, Braun Breaker inadvertently goes into the turnbuckle, and the rope completely breaks. And considering the fact who's booking this, and if you know the history with his tag team run with and everything like that, it makes sense. but they have to fix the win for a while, and eventually they end up fixing it, and the match keeps going for a bit, and then eventually Grayson Waller goes for some type of elbow off the middle rope, but eventually the rope breaks again, and I thought, and he nearly like breaks his neck. That was pretty scary actually, but Braun Breaker ends up winning by countout and retains his title, and obviously Grayson Waller's not happy about this because he was screwed over. And later in the night, throughout the show, they kept announcing that Shawn Michaels had a big announcement regarding this. And he announces that at Vengeance Day, they're going to have a steel cage match for the title. To be honest, I actually really didn't hate this all that much. I thought this was the best way to have Braun Breaker keep the title without Grayson Waller losing, because I think they wanted to have one, like at least NXT show where they've traveled with Braun Breaker as champion, and this was the best way for him to keep the title and everything like that. So I really don't have an issue with this. I fully expect that Braun Breaker's dropping the belt to Grayson Waller at Vengeance Day, just because I think Braun Breaker's clearly main roster already. They just want to have one NXT special with him as champion, probably, since it's on the road and everything like that. He's been champion for so long now that he deserves to have one match on the road and everything. He's basically got what Drew McIntyre should have gotten when he was champion and stuff. So what's up with you, Chris? What do you think of this match and everything like that?
That was a really good match. Really, really good. Again, the screwy finish made sense because they're having the big stip in there for their, which looks like it's going to be their final match. But yeah, I liked it a lot.
What do you think, Steve?
Enjoyed the match. The screwy finish wasn't terrible. It makes sense. Definitely a creative one with the ring breaking. But no, it makes total sense as to why you want to do that, because you don't want to have Grayson be defeated just yet, I think. Not only that, but I do see Grayson Waller beating him, because it's going to be a steel cage match, which obviously gives him the opportunity to beat him without pinning him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because
Braun can destroy him during the match, and then Grayson Waller gets lucky and just gets out.
Because I forget, WWE cage matches end via escape, stuff like that. So
right.
Next, Roxanne Perez gets interviewed, and she talks about who she would like to see win the Battle Royal. And she makes a joke she wants it to be Cora Jade, and she's like, "Nah, I'm just kidding." I thought that was hilarious. And yeah, she just talked about who she wants to see win the Battle Royal and stuff. And then Apollo Crews is backstage. Somehow I guess he has like faster access to NXT than we do. He's somehow watching the clip of Carmelo Hayes at the diner. I'm like, how the hell did you get? Like, did you have a camera hidden in the diner or something like that? Like, how did you find that? But Axiom comes up to him, and they talk about how they both have an issue right now with both Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. So they basically offer to team up, and they do a funny joke here. This has been a joke that's been going on for a bit, where they try to do like, can't you tell? Where they have Axiom say, "Can't you tell by my reaction?" But the joke is you can't really see his face because of the mask. So it's kind of like that's the joke right there. So it's whatever. I like and they're doing a tag match on next episode's NXT, which we'll do predictions for and stuff. But what did you guys think of these two backstage segments here?
They were fine.
Yeah,
they were good.
Next, we had Hank Walker with Drew Gulak inside versus Charlie Dempsey. This was more competitive than the previous match that they had. It was pretty decent. Hank Walker put up a little bit more of a fight, which I expected him to. He did this really cool thing where we got Charlie Dempsey into a really cool armbar, but eventually he ended up succumbing to Charlie Dempsey's submission. But he tried really hard to get to the ropes and fight out of it and stuff like that. Drew Gulak was trying to give him advice and everything like that. Booker T was just ragging on Hank Walker for wrestling in the security guard and everything like that. And he thinks it's a waste of TV time that he's taking up a spot from somebody else. It was to the point where I questioned whether or not Booker T was actually being legit, if he was keeping kayfabe or something like that. But yeah, I really like this. I actually thought Charlie Dempsey looked really strong, but they made Hank Walker look pretty good. Something tells me Hank Walker's like really this like brilliant wrestler, but like he's just doing this gimmick right now. But there's a brilliant wrestler waiting to come out of him right now and all that type of stuff. But I'm really liking the path of Charlie Dempsey. I love Drew Gulak being NXT right now, and I just want that match with Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey. I think that's the biggest thing that I want out of this. But Chris, what do you think of Charlie Dempsey versus Hank Walker?
The more I see Charlie Dempsey, the more I like Charlie Dempsey. And you know what he looks like? A young William Regal, some would say. He came from the semen of William Regal. So I think Charlie Dempsey is going to be great. He's just so badass.
What about Hank Walker?
He's there.
Okay.
He's there, right? He's Hank Walker. He's there.
Steve, what do you think of this match?
Hank Walker, the Gulak Stalker. That's his gimmick. He's just kind of there, I guess. Like Chris said, there's just no light behind his eyes. No, but Charlie Dempsey is definitely the one to look out for. I think once William Regal's no compete clause is up in terms of appearing on TV, you will definitely see the Dempsey Regal pairing come to light. That may even be something they save for the main roster. You don't have Regal come back to NXT, you just have Charlie Dempsey compete in NXT until Regal's all cleared to go, and then boom, you have them pop up on Raw or SmackDown after Regal returns and introduces them.
That'd be cool. Next, Saruka is backstage, and she's getting ready for the Battle Royal. And Kaylee Ray comes up to her and wants to do a rematch between them because they never got to have their match because she was laid out by Isla Dawn. And, Saruka's cool with it. She's fine with not having a rematch, but Kaylee Ray just gets aggressive towards her and demands basically the rematch. So that match is going to happen this week on NXT tonight. If you're seeing this on Tuesday. Next, Tyler Bate has a video package, and he talks about how he went away for a while to recollect himself and just take a little bit of a vacation, but he's ready to come back and see all the new crop of talent. I'm looking forward to see what he does when he comes back. I was getting worried that he was going to have a name change for a second there, because usually when they do these video packages, they get a name change, but I'm glad he's going to just be Tyler Bate. Then NXT Anonymous is, this time they're stalking Oliver Carter. I don't know what he wants with Oliver Carter, but he just mentioned not to trust anyone that you see. I'm really not sure who this NXT Anonymous person is. And I don't want to say it's going to be anything interesting because I thought Scripps was going to be interesting, and that ended up being bad. So we'll start with you, Steve. What do you think of all these backstage video packages and stuff of Saruka, Tyler Bate, and NXT Anonymous?
Saruka, I'm still figuring out. I think she's going to be one of those people who's just going to take time to get used to. I think she's good in the ring. She just needs character work, but it's not like, I was kind of ragging on Pretty Deadly earlier, or, not Pretty Deadly, Katana and Kaden for their character work, but that's because they've been prominently featured. They're champions. Like, by now, come on, have something. Yeah. She is not prominently featured, so she still has time to figure it out before I kind of bring the hammer down of like, okay, this person doesn't know what they're doing. Tyler Bate, he's someone who has it all figured out, and I'm glad he's coming back. I can't wait to see that. I think he will be featured in the North American title picture almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then NXT Anonymous, I don't know who it is.
I don't know either.
Intrigued. I mean, it's kind of like Scripps, where even though it's just Reggie, it was intriguing in the build-up.
And then it happened.
I mean, it could be anyone. It could be... Yeah, I don't really have an example of who it could be. It could be anyone.
Chris, what did you think of all these 3 backstage segments and all that type of stuff?
Interesting to see who the anonymous person is. If it's just Scripps, again, then it sucks. Yeah, everything else, it's interesting at least.
It could be Mustafa Ali finally getting redemption from his hacker days.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, remember that, guys? Remember when I was the SmackDown hacker?
I remember they were doing this thing where like he was supposed to break up some type of tag team or something like that, and then we never found out what tag team he was trying to break up. So next we had
maybe it was anyone at that point. Maybe it was Retribution. He was trying to break them up, and he did.
Yeah, he was probably like, "Please don't put me in Retribution, please, please." Then it was Jinder Mahal versus Julius Creed. Pretty good match here. I thought they both tore the house down. Eventually, Jinder Mahal won with the Colossus, and then afterwards, Sangha laid him out. So I thought this was a pretty good performance by Jinder Mahal and stuff like that. So I liked it a lot. What do you think of this, Chris? This match between Jinder Mahal and Julius Creed.
It was a good match. Again, it's the first. It's a good return for Jinder. Really good match. I liked it.
What about you, Steve?
Same here. Very solid return for Jinder Mahal to NXT, and also Julius put on a great match as usual. Both Creed brothers are amazing. I think they can go up to the main roster whenever NXT feels like, okay, we're good with you guys.
Yeah, I think the thing is too that they don't have a lot of top tag teams right now either, so they kind of need the Creed brothers to stay in NXT because they didn't really have it a lot until the New Day showed up. So next, Brooks and Jensen are backstage, and they're being treated for their injuries, and I always forget their names, but it's the person that owns the bow and Kiana James.
Fallon
Henley. They're both checking on him, and they tell him to go just prepare for the Battle Royal, and they agree to do so. I really don't remember this segment all that much. I remember it's just kind of teasing the fact that, Kiana James is basically being this fake baby, safe face and all that type of stuff, but it is what it is. And then we have a vignette for Stevie Turner, who'll be showing up soon. She's been doing vlogs and stuff like that on Twitch and stuff like that. They're probably going to be doing these for a few weeks. I'm interested to see how it happens. I think she was a heel in NXT UK, so I think it'd be kind of cool to see a heel vlogger. I know technically we got that with Sammy Guevara, but I feel like Sammy Guevara really wasn't the heel vlogger on screen. So this is going to be what
Sammy Guevara is just a heel in general.
Yeah.
Sammy Guevara is just a piece of shit.
But anyhow, what do you two guys? We'll start with Chris this time. What did you think of the backstage segment with Brooks and Jensen and Stevie Turner and all that type of stuff?
So it was fine. The one with Brooks and Jensen, it sets up. I think it's going to end up leading to Kiana James and Fallon Henley tag teaming together. And maybe the direction they're going.
Maybe we get lucky and they dethrone Chris's favorite tag team of all time, Caden Carter and
Katana. Fuck yeah, let's go dethrone those motherfuckers.
No, please though. I'm not even joking.
Please dethrone them. Anyone but them. Anyone but whoop. Anyone but that.
I'm not gonna say I want to be anyone, because then we're just gonna be in the situation again where it's not a real tag team. It's just two people who are put together. But this is a storyline. This is a storyline that's going. Fallon and Kiana James overcome their differences and become the champions.
Yeah.
Yes. I would like that.
I would prefer that over because it's clearly going to be the thing where Kiana James is going to turn on Fallon Henley. I would prefer that over that. So.
Well, that's eventually going to happen anyway. So.
Yeah.
We know it's going to be. They're going to be a tag team for less than a month, and it's going to be she gained Fallon's trust, and then she turns on her in a tag match. Yeah. And then they have a fight over the bar, and then Fallon Henley loses the match and loses the bar. Fucking guaranteed. And then they show vignettes of the bar being fucking destroyed and apartment complexes being built over it.
Yeah. Probably. Next we had I think this storyline's a proof that John Taff is not a wrestling fan, because he would be fully into this if he was a wrestling fan, but
John Taffer would be kicking some ass right now.
But next we had the Battle Royal. I think the only ones that got entrances were Cora Jade and and Indy Hartwell. I think they were the only ones that got entrances. Everyone else was just kind of out there and all that type of stuff. One thing I didn't like about the Battle Royal is they did the picture-in-picture like ab breaks like during the Battle Royal. It was kind of hard to keep up with what was going on because obviously the screen's so much smaller and all that type of stuff. But Cora Jade was eliminated within 30 seconds by Eva Valkyrie. I know that's not her name right now, but that's the name I remember her as. And they did a funny thing where she tried to come out later in the match and eliminate her, but she failed the second time. And she succeeded the third time, but I thought it was funny that they did that. So that looks like they're going to feud now, which I really would complain about. It gets Eva Valkyrie something to do, and it's a top talent for Cora Jade to feud with. I was just really surprised that Cora Jade got eliminated so early because that was my pick to win the match. So they did things where they furthered feuds, like they furthered the feud between Zoe Starks and Nikita Lyons. Zoe Starks eliminated Nikita Lyons, and then she got distracted by Nikita Lyons because she was just talking shit to her, and she got eliminated by someone. So that looks like they're going to continue that feud. They did a thing where Kiana James saved Fallon Henley from elimination. It was kind of weird because in the match, though, Fallon Henley acted like a heel, and then remember she was supposed to be a babyface. I don't know if you guys caught that in the match. It was she was a heel match, but then remember she was supposed to be a baby. I think she forgot. Let's see what else happened in the Battle Royal. I think those are the big takeaways that I saw in the Battle Royal. Ivy Nile looked good in the Battle Royal. I kind of wanted her to go further, get to the Final Four, but that didn't happen. They did a thing where Sal Luca saved herself from elimination by doing the Kofi Kingston handstand spot from the Royal Rumble 2012.
Yes.
So that was cool. I feel like because of that, she should get into the Women's Royal Rumble. And if Naomi doesn't come back, take her spot where she does something creative to save herself from elimination. But then we had the Final Four. It was Indy Hardwell, Gigi Dolan, and Priscilla Kelly. Well, that is Gigi Dolan. JC Jane, that's who I'm thinking of. And some other person was the Final Four. I think it was Eva Valkyrie, and then that thing happened. They did a thing, actually, I forgot to mention it, where, what's her name? The person that sleeps all the time and all that type of stuff.
Wendy Chu.
Where she tried to use the pillow to save herself, and someone came up and took the pillow out of her, and it caused her to get eliminated, which is going to lead to a feud, I think. I forget who it was that did that, though. But then it was the final two. It ended up being Toxic Attraction, and they tried to say we won the Battle Royal, but then they realized no, you have to. That's not how this works. So they fought for a little bit, and they did the spot where they both got up on the turnbuckles, and they both fell out of the ring, and they both hit the floor at exactly the same time. Probably wasn't exactly at the same time, but it was meant to be that way. But at least this one was a little bit more questionable. I remember they did this with AJ Styles and Luke Harper, and it was clearly that one of them hit first before the other. But this time it wasn't that. So the referees were deciding how they're going to rule this, and they just decided to give them both the title match. It was just that easy. The graphic came up and everything, so now Roxanne Perez has to defend the title against Toxic Attraction in a triple threat match. I guess I get why they're going this direction, because this is probably a way to make it up to them since they kind of got screwed over in the Mandy Rose thing, and there's a story there. I just didn't want to see them go this direction. I would have preferred they went with. I get why they don't want to go the Cora Jade path, I guess, because they just recently wrapped up that storyline, but I thought there was a better storyline there because they did the whole thing where Cora Jade didn't really lose the Iron Survivor Challenge, but I would have preferred them going with Cora Jade, but I guess it is what it is. But yeah, Steve, what do you think of the Battle Royal?
I thought it was good. I definitely saw that ending coming from the second they said, at the end of the night, they'll say Andrew winner, Toxic Attraction. I was like, okay, so they're going to both get eliminated at the same time. I'm surprised that they actually competed against each other.
Yeah, I was surprised about that.
I was expecting them to just shake hands and both jump out at the same time. And then that would be it. But Yeah, not surprised by the ending, not thrilled by the ending, honestly, because, like I said, I don't think Gigi or JC are that good, really. But ultimately, I hope Roxanne Perez comes out on the other side still champion, because God help us if either of those two talentless hicks wind up champion. That would suck.
What about you, Chris?
I thought the Battle Royale was good. I didn't know why Cora Jade got eliminated first. That was stupid. I literally laughed out loud at it. I was like, why the fuck is she getting eliminated first? When the fucking storyline is there already, ready made, fucking right there. Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez. It's fucking there still.
They're putting it off until Stand and Deliver, that's why.
But it's just like, for her to be eliminated first is a fucking joke. And for a Toxic Attraction to fucking basically win is even stupider.
Yeah.
It's stupider. Oh my god, it's awful. It's just bad. It's just bad. Bad all around.
I do wonder how they're gonna do the storyline without bringing up Mandy Rose. I kind of want them to make a reference to it, but maybe they don't want to make a reference to it now because of the fact that this interview just came out about it recently, so they would look bad. Because I didn't even mention that during the interview. The person interviewing Mandy Rose mentioned that they tried to reach out for WWE for comments, but they never revealed anything. Probably because they have a freaking sale of the company going on right now, so they had better things to do than react to a Mandy Rose interview at the moment. So
yeah,
there's bigger fish to fry. So I wouldn't be shocked if WWE just thought it was just a random fan that tried to get him to reach out to. That would have been hilarious. Like they didn't, but whatever. But anyhow, I thought NXT overall, not Stand and Deliver. New Year's Evil was a really good show. I'll give this also a B. I liked the title match. I liked Jinder Mahal's return to NXT. Honestly, weirdly enough, that was the highlight of freaking NXT this week. Was it Jinder Mahal's return to NXT? I thought that was awesome. But yeah, what grades would you guys give NXT?
I'll give it a B. That was a really good show. B plus, actually. I'll give it a B plus. A really good show. Battle Royale didn't make any sense, but it doesn't bring down the show because all the other matches were relatively good.
Steve, what would you give NXT as a grade?
I'm gonna give it a solid B.
There you go.
I was contemplating B minus, but yeah, I'm gonna go with a B just because overall it was good, and Jinder coming back was actually a highlight. The crowd clearly popped the loudest for him. I think what keeps the show from being a B plus or an A is the fact that I think a lot of it was just setting up for Vengeance Day. And yeah.
We should talk about a noticeable thing during the title match. More people were into Grayson Waller than Braun Breaker. He's starting to kind of lose some popularity with the fans now and all that type of stuff. So, going through main event real quick. We had the commentary team of Kevin Patrick and Byron Saxton. I felt bad for Byron Saxton. He got kind of screwed out of all this because he was doing pretty well on Raw, but now he's kind of not just there now. But it opened up with Odyssey Jones versus Akira Tozawa. They had a pretty decent match with each other. There was no one really being a heel in the match. It was just kind of face versus face. But I think he rooted for Tozawa more because he was like the underdog. Odyssey Jones ended up winning the match, and afterwards they showed respect for each other. And then backstage, Von Wagner showed up, and he was being interviewed by the WWE.com personnel, but he threatened to kick their ass pretty much if they didn't get out of his face. And Mustafa Ali came up and stuck up for him. And Von Wagner says that he's there to stick up for Cedric Alexander because the last time he was on main event, he beat him down. So Von Wagner tells Mustafa Ali that he's going to make an example out of him because it's Von Wagner's world and we're all just living in it, apparently. I guess I didn't realize that's how it worked. So could Von Wagner just technically buy WWE if he really wants to? That's a good question.
Von Wagner's actually Saudi Arabian, and that's who bought it.
Then we had the match between Mustafa Ali and Von Wagner. This is probably Braun Wagner's like best match he's ever had because Mustafa Ali can bump really well for him. Braun Wagner's still not good. It seems like they're definitely pulling back on him a little bit now because Vince isn't really running things at least creatively now and stuff. Mustafa Ali ended up getting the pin after a 450 splash. And everybody celebrated. Everyone was all happy. Von Wagner didn't win. So that was main event. It was pretty solid. I will say main events definitely improved since Triple H has taken over because he's having the NXT guys at least work somewhat of a main roster level to see how they would do on the main roster. And, I think I actually will make the argument it's better than AEW Dark and AEW Elevation because they have the guys that go up against the main roster guys are guys that it wouldn't necessarily hurt the main roster guys if they lost because it's not necessarily that they're doing anything all that special anyways. Because it gets to a point on AEW Dark, like it's clear that like the enhancement talent isn't going to win. Like I remember the biggest example the biggest example that we talked about was Action Andretti versus QT Marshall. They gave him like this big babyface comeback, and then he just lost anyways. That was the biggest example of when that happened. But I thought main event was a good show. I give it like a B-. So there you go. Now let's go over SmackDown. It opened up with the Intercontinental Championship match. We had Michael Cole and Wade Barrett on commentary, by the way. It was Walter versus Braun Strowman. This was a hell of a match. Hell of an Intercontinental Championship match. I was kind of interested to see how this match was going to go because Walter's not really used to wrestling like the bigger athletes. He's usually wrestling the smaller athletes. So I really enjoyed this, though. They both went to war with each other. And eventually Walter ended up winning after 2 splashes onto Braun Strowman and retained his championship. And I would say pretty much it was a clean win. You could make the argument that it wasn't because Braun Strowman could have won the match earlier, but then Imperium came out and interfered. But overall, Walter had a relatively clean victory over Braun Strowman. And I'm really happy about that. And I'm happy that he's had a really good run so far on the main roster. Because if you remember, before Vince partly retired for a little bit, he was going to get buried by Vince. So I'm really happy that Vince stepped away at a good time at that time. So, Steve, what do you think of Walter versus Strowman for the belts?
I thought it was awesome. I thought the idea of Walter just going over clean and dominating him was great. Obviously, this was his first foray into going up against a bigger opponent, or like on the main roster, that is. But overall, I thought he did really well.
Yeah. What did you think, Steve? Not Steve, Chris.
Yes, my name is Chris. Thank you very much.
It goes both ways.
I thought
you're getting fired.
I thought that Gunther did great.
The ring general.
And Mr. Gunther had a good match against Braun Strowman. I felt like it was a good big boy battle. Big boys slapping meat. Big meaty brawl. But it was good. It was really good. And then Braun looked good. I thought Gunther looked good. Everyone comes out looking good in this equation.
For sure. And then next, Sami Zayn was backstage, and he wanted to go over strategy with the Usos about his match with Kevin Owens, but Paul Heyman basically Sami Zayn has to do this on his own. He's basically said that Roman Reigns wanted it to be this way, and Sami Zayn, this fires him up to believe that he could do this by himself because he knows Kevin Owens really well and things like that. And then next, Rey Mysterio comes out. And he talks about how he had a really bad Christmas because he had to watch his son get arrested, and that's not something that a father wants to see happen to his son. And he said that he went to SmackDown to move on from all of this, but it seems like that he's just kind of right back where he was before he moved to SmackDown. So he said he's going to make up for all this by entering the Royal Rumble match and winning it. And then Karrion Kross and Scarlett come out. Karrion Kross tries to make Rey Mysterio feel bad for not really being a good father to Dominic, how all the moments that he had Was it really good for Dominic, or was it just good for you? And at one point, Karrion Kross goes way too far, and this causes Rey Mysterio to attack him. And he goes for the 619, but he gets tripped by Scarlett, which causes Karrion Kross to put him in the cross jacket, and he ends up putting Rey Mysterio to sleep. And after this, we find out later in the show that in 2 weeks so not this Friday, but next Friday, we're gonna have Karrion Kross versus Rey Mysterio. So we'll do predictions for that next week. But Steve, what do you think of the backstage segment with Zayn and Heyman, and the segment with Rey Mysterio and Karrion Kross?
I thought the Zayn Heyman segment went great because you can start really it's been there for a while now, like the whole underlying does the bloodline really trust this guy thing, but I think now people can really see the use that the bloodline's putting Zayn through.
Yep.
Like they're just using him. And I think as the weeks go by, it's just going to become more and more apparent to Sammy now, especially once we get to the end. As for Rey and Kross, I don't know what they're doing with Karrion Kross. But as for Rey, he just needs something to do until he can feud with Dominic. That's all this is, I think.
Pretty much.
So in the meantime, Karrion Kross is just straight up kind of being an asshole.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what his gimmick has been in the Triple H regime. Is he's just a dick.
Yeah. Better than what his gimmick was before. So
Bondage Magneto.
Chris, what did you think of the backstage segment with Zayn and Heyman and the Karrion Kross segment with Rey Mysterio?
Like Steve said, they're just using Sami Zayn in the bloodline, and eventually it's gonna lead to something so magnificent that it's gonna be incredible. And as far as Rey versus Kross goes, I just don't care enough. I just really don't fucking care enough about it. Like, it's just one of those feuds that's like, just put this in the drawer. But okay,
yeah, that's fair.
Here it is. Boom, slap it right on the table. There's nothing special about it. At all. It's just fucking, I don't know. It just doesn't have any juice to it.
Next, we had Liv Morgan was backstage, and Maxine Dupree, Emma, and Raquel Rodriguez were questioning why Liv Morgan wants to enter the Royal Rumble match #1. They think that's a dumb idea. Raquel Rodriguez talks about how she's going to enter the Royal Rumble and she has more of a chance of anyone of winning it, considering the fact that she's recently been in the ring with Ronda Rousey and she's a bigger athlete. They usually have a good chance of winning the Royal Rumble match, which isn't true, but that's just going to be that's how they do things. So it leads to Liv Morgan slapping her in the face, and it leads to a match between them later in the show. They had a really good match with each other. Liv Morgan tried to use a table onto Raquel Rodriguez, but she ended up recovering too fast, and it led to Raquel Rodriguez hitting the Tejana bomb for the win. They did stuff where they both eliminated each other in the match, as it saying that could possibly happen in the Royal Rumble. But yeah, I thought overall this was good stuff here, and a good way to make both competitors look good going into the Rumble. So, Chris, what did you think of all this stuff?
It was okay. I mean, it's the same fucking thing they do every year, where it's like, oh, this could be an elimination if this was in the Royal Rumble. Like, it's all right. There's nothing to it. It doesn't bother me.
There you go. What about you, Steve?
Same. I think the whole situation with Liv Morgan as they're trying to keep her relevant because she just hasn't been doing anything recently. And I literally mean she has not been doing anything. Like, if you want an example of someone who's just fallen off, Liv Morgan. I mean, they tried to push her last year, and honestly, they were doing a good job until they decided to pair her up with Ronda. I mean, how was that going to work?
Yeah, that wasn't the best idea. Also on the show, Tegan Knox had a match with Xia Li, beat her relatively easily. It was really filler. I really didn't care about it all that much. So I thought it was a good way to get Tegan Knox like a nice win, but like it just kind of what did you do that stuff with Xia Li for? If you were just gonna do a random match on SmackDown, I thought that was kind of weird. But what did you think of that, Steve? Tegan Knox versus Xia Li.
Two people that I think I forgot existed.
There you go. What about you, Chris?
Didn't care.
I honestly forgot Xia Li was even on the main. I always forget.
I forgot she even existed.
Next, Bray Wyatt did a promo, and he came out and he had his rocking chair back, the old Bray Wyatt Eater of Worlds rocking chair, and he talked about how he's everyone pretty much, and there's potential that he's Uncle Howdy. He mentioned that he's Uncle Howdy, and he said that he's going to destroy LA Knight, and what happens to him, he won't really be responsible for. It's all LA Knight's fault. So I really like this, and at the end of it, they did a thing where they did the old Wyatt family like outro thing that they would do when they would leave the ring and all that type of stuff, and I really liked it. I thought it was awesome. The only thing I didn't like about it is right afterwards they cut to like a backstage thing with Caleb Braxton, which she kind of knows. So she's like, "Interesting words from Bray Wyatt." She had like a really smile on her face. Like I think they should have gone to break and then had her come back and do the interview. That's just what I would have done. But Chris, what did you think of the Bray Wyatt thing?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. The fact that he said he was Uncle Howdy, like, bizarrely throws a wrench in the story. But yeah, I liked it though. And I like the fact they had the rocking chair too.
Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna explain then, like how the whole thing where him and Uncle Howdy were in. No, because he got laid out by Uncle Howdy, so I wonder how they'll explain that. But so I'm interested in that. But Steve, what did you think of the Bray Wyatt promo?
He is not Uncle Howdy. No chance. I think it's all a ruse. I think you're going to see that Uncle Howdy is who we all know Uncle Howdy is. It is 150% someone else. You better believe it.
There you go. Next, Kevin Owens got interviewed, and before he could really say anything, Sami Zayn comes up to him and says that he's not doing this to Sami Zayn because he has to, but because Kevin Owens refuses to leave him alone. He's trying to do his thing in the bloodline, and Kevin Owens continuously gets involved. Kevin Owens tells him that it's actually Roman Reigns doing all this because he mentions the fact that Roman Reigns has made all the matches that he's been in, like the tag match with Cena and the match tonight, and says that he finds it conveniently enough that the night you have this match, Roman Reigns is nowhere to be found. And tells him to think about the fact that he's being used. So I thought that was pretty good stuff here. Really good segment there to build to the main event. What did you think of this, Chris?
I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. Nothing too crazy.
What about you, Steve?
Same. Good, not crazy. Just not a match.
Next, Sonya Deville demands a rematch for the SmackDown Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair. But Adam Pearce says that it's not how all of these things work. You have to earn your way back because you already lost. And Sonya Deville doesn't think that's fair because Charlotte Flair immediately came back and was champion. But Adam Pearce's argument is that she came back and called her shot and won while you lost. So back of the line. And Sonya Deville says, I'm not playing by those rules, and I'm going to find a way to get that match one way or another. It leads to later on in the night, we see that there's a brawl going on between Sonya Deville and Charlotte Flair, where apparently Sonya Deville attacked Charlotte Flair while she was getting her makeup put on and all that type of stuff. And they had a really intense brawl that had to get broken up. I thought this was fine. I don't really get why this is Charlotte Flair's first feud back. I would have preferred Shayna Baszler since that would have made the most sense since she's aligned with Ronda Rousey and all that type of stuff. But they're going with Sonya Deville, which I guess will work just as well. But I guess it is what it is. What did you think of this, Steve?
I don't really know what to think of it because I don't know. I feel like Sonya Deville's always been good, not great. And, maybe they're just trying to see if they can get her over as great this time. I mean, it's kind of confusing, I guess. I don't understand why they're picking her, but I don't have an issue with it. It's just like, I feel like you could have had Charlotte versus Raquel Gonzalez, which would have been great. But Charlotte versus Liv Morgan, that would have got her back on track, probably.
Yeah, that would have been
why Sonya Deville, I won't know.
What about you, Chris?
It would have made sense for Charlotte to face Shayna. More so than facing Sonya Deville. That one just doesn't make any sense to me. At all.
Yeah. Next, we had a backstage segment with Drew McIntyre, Adam Pearce, and Sheamus. And then Drew McIntyre wants to face the Viking Raiders since they attacked him last week after the SmackDown Tag Title match on WWE exclusives. But Sheamus says that we need to focus on the bigger picture and get to the Usos. So Adam Pearce announces that he's doing a tournament for the championships and announces that the first round is going to be Sheamus and Drew McIntyre versus the Viking Raiders, which I actually kind of liked how they did that. It's how they built up to one match to get another. They even did a thing where the Viking Raiders and Valhalla did a pretty good promo segment because of it. I think the Viking Raiders push got killed a little bit because a lot of people were angry about the fact that we talked about it last time that Sarah Logan's ripping off what's her name? Whose gimmick? What's her name?
I know
her name, but
I know who you're talking about.
So I think that because of that happening, Max the Impaler, she's ripping off Max the Impaler's gimmick. So a lot of people are angry about that. So maybe that's why they've kind of killed the Viking Raiders push a little bit,
right?
Which kind of sucks. But I really am looking forward to seeing Drew and Sheamus versus the Viking Raiders. Before we talk, because I want to talk about something else. Let's talk about the segment first. What do you think about the tournament going down? And I guess the Viking Raiders push being killed and stuff. Well, we'll start with Steve.
I don't know if it's being killed or what they're doing with them, but I feel like this is the problem with the Usos having both tag titles is, like, now you have all these teams who could be serious threats and would probably be a lot better off if they just had one of the belts, but the Usos have both, and that kind of takes it away and ruins it.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
I think it was a dumb decision to merge the belts last year with Roman. It was a dumb decision to do it with the Usos, and now they're paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
And Triple H, I really, really hope he has a plan to split the belts after WrestleMania, if not before.
What about you, Chris?
I think it's time to make them single championships again, not dual. Have Raw and SmackDown again, because there's just too many tag teams for one singular unified tag team championship. It just doesn't make it. I liked it when it happened. Didn't bother me. I liked having, it was dominance. That was the whole thing. The whole thing about the Bloodline is they're dominant. They dominated both the tag team divisions and both heavyweight championship divisions. But now it's gone on forever. I think it's time that they split up the tags and the heavyweight championships back into Raw, SmackDown again.
So we talked about this before. I think that it made sense to do it at the time because they had released so many people, and there really wasn't that many tag teams at that time where they kind of had no choice but to do it. But now they have a lot of people. They have a lot of tag teams now that they can actually get away with splitting up the championships again. And the reason I say that, I don't know if Michael Cole just screwed up or whatever. I have rewound it too. Michael Cole said that the Judgment Day is facing the Usos for the Raw tag titles, and the tournament's being happening for the SmackDown tag titles. So are they gonna split up the championships and have the Usos lose the Raw ones to the Judgment Day, and then maybe to keep the SmackDown ones, because if they keep the SmackDown ones, that doesn't go against the record. They would still have the record because that's the belts that they won the first time anyways. So that'd be interesting. Because the thing is, it's easier to get to split up the tag titles than the men's titles, because they don't have to go around the fact of the Usos haven't lost, because the Usos have lost more recently than Roman, so they can easily get split up the tag titles. It's the World Championships that's going to be more of a problem to split up and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I'm interested. Then we had the main event. It was Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. These two are just magic together. You can never get a bad match between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. The biggest thing that happened in the match was, this was the first, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that Sami Zayn has done his flip dive over the ropes, I think, since he's returned back in like 2019. He hasn't done that move in a while.
That's true.
So I thought that was cool. And Sami Zayn had the match won, but then the Bloodline minus Roman Reigns show up and beat down Kevin Owens. And Sami Zayn's upset about this because this was a big match for him. He had to win this match to prove himself again to Roman Reigns, and they kind of screwed it up for him. And he never joins in the beatdown itself. The Usos and Solo Sikoa just beat down Owens. They lay him out with the Solo lays him out with the Samoan Spike, and they all do the one symbol. And Sami Zayn does the one, but if you notice that Sami Zayn's one symbol wasn't really, he wasn't into it. He didn't really have it as high up.
Hesitated.
Yeah. And following this, when he kind of finally is fully with them, Solo Sikoa does a big splash off of the barricade through the announce table onto Kevin Owens. And everybody stands tall. And yeah, the Bloodline still in strong force, and it was really cool. What did you think of this, Chris? This main event and how it ended up?
I liked it, and I will say, the seeds have been planted firmly. The seeds in the ground, they were planted. Because did you see what Kevin Owens did? He grabbed Sami by the fucking boot as a way of trying to like beg him stop doing what you're doing. Like, essentially.
Yeah.
Loved it. I saw him doing that. I'm like, there it is. There's the first seeds being planted into the ground to form a Kevin and Sami reunion.
Mm-hmm.
There's the seeds. I think there's gonna be more seed planting tonight.
Yeah. What did you think of this, Steve?
I think the storyline's great because every time you think it's over and yep, Sammy's bad, that's it. It reels you back in, there's something there to pull you back in, and this one, just due to how close in proximity it is to WrestleMania, this feels like the one. Now, I think everyone said that about Survivor Series, but it was funny. It was kind of like, I always say this as my example, WrestleMania 35, I think up until the moment Kurt made his entrance, everyone was like, yeah, Kurt Angle's not losing to Baron Corbin, and then just, he made his way out, and atmosphere kind of changed, and everyone kind of looked around, like, people in my section looking at each other like, holy shit, Baron Corbin's going to squash him. And he did.
He did.
It was kind of like that with Survivor Series. Like, up until the showtime, everyone was like, yep, Sammy's turning tonight. Here it comes. And then, he got sent out second, and we were like, oh, something about the mood just didn't sit right. I was like, I think he's going to actually win for them tonight. And he did.
He did.
But now it really feels like, okay, they're clearly starting, because in the past it's been Sammy's worried about pissing them off.
Yeah.
But now Sammy's proven himself. He's done a lot for them. And now I think it's going to flip where it's going to be, well, why don't you guys care about pissing me off? Because you're starting to. And, when he does that, I think Usos and Solo will be like, I'm sorry, what'd you say? And then you see Roman step in like, yeah, no, what'd you just say?
Yeah.
And just slowly, I think... this is going a different direction because there's still time to do this. I do think before the Rumble, we might see something where, they start arguing and doubting, and Roman's like, okay, well, let me put it to you guys this way. You guys have your matches, but Solo and Sammy are in the Rumble. The Usos have a tag match to worry about, but maybe they'll enter anyway. But the idea is being... Roman comes out and says, all four of you guys are going to enter the Rumble and win it to protect the head of the table. And basically tells them, as Sammy, he goes, how about this? Sammy, because I'm trying to think as I'm speaking, so I'm kind of stalling a little bit.
It's okay.
Chris
might not think this is okay, though.
No, son, I need to not stall.
Yeah, that's it for me. I'm fired. I've been oried. No, I'm joking. Anyhow, I think I got it now. So find something for Solo to do in the night where he has another match. Maybe he goes against Gunther for the title. I don't know. The idea being Sammy only has to worry about the Rumble. So then Roman says, all four of you are in the Rumble, but Sammy, because this is your one match, you don't have any excuses if you lose. Because if you do lose, you're out. And then we get to the Rumble, and you have a spot where they're dominating, and the Usos just out of nowhere kick him out. They hit him with a super kick. He goes flying over the top. Do it right after he eliminates Kevin Owens. Owens will probably lose to Roman, and then he enters the Rumble later on.
Yeah, they like to do that sometimes.
Yeah. So then you do that, and out of nowhere... You have a story built now where Sammy can come out and he can finally flip his shit on Roman and be like, what the hell? That's not my fault. That's their fault.
Yeah. I think we all thought it was going to be last week, 2 weeks ago, I guess at this point, where Roman finally flipped out on Sammy. That was going to be the moment where things were going to go down, and then they didn't. So,
right.
I'm just so interested in the storyline, but... That was SmackDown. I thought SmackDown was a fantastic show. I gave it an A-. I loved it. Because a lot of the show, too, was taken up by Walter versus Braun Strowman, so I do kind of counter that into effect.
I'm sorry, who versus Braun Strowman?
Yeah, you know who I mean.
So. No. Who is it?
It's Walter versus Braun Strowman.
No. What? Who is it?
Continuing, but yeah, that took up the Intercontinental title match, took up the most of the show. Other things happened. Obviously, the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn storyline was really good, so I gave it a B+. A-. I'm sorry. But yeah, Chris, what would you give SmackDown?
I gave it an A-. I thought it was a really great show. The main event. Superb. Seed planters all the way.
What about you?
And the opener was good. Very good, actually.
As a whole, I got to give SmackDown an A. I give it a solid A, not quite an A+, because, I always like to leave room for improvement. There wasn't any, mind-boggling moments, but there were big moments.
Yeah.
And I do think SmackDown's just on track so far to be the show to watch this year. That's
actually that's one show even under the Vince era that was so always pretty good. Was SmackDown. Going through Level Up real quick. Von Wagner defeated Oba Femi. He was a big athlete that went up against Von Wagner, but you could definitely tell some of the people that were on Level Up aren't even NXT ready yet. So he was obviously fairly green, but he didn't really have the best opponent to work with. But Von Wagner ended up getting the win with the Death Valley Driver. Then they did an interview with Jakira Jackson, where she was clearly a heel, where she talked about how she had all these goals she wanted to set. And she was a gold digger, not a gold digger, a gold digger, GOAL. She make sure to make that very specific. And they had the match, and Isla Dawn ended up winning that match. Jakira Jackson got some offense in, but, obviously Isla Dawn still won. Then we had Duke Hudson versus Damian Kemp. Poor Damian Kemp, man. What a fall from grace he had. He can't even get on NXT anymore. Guess he should. This is what happens, Damian, when you turn your back on Diamond Mine. You can't get on shows anymore. This is what happens. So they stay with Diamond Mine. And they had a pretty decent match with each other. Duke Hudson ended up winning when he did the Dusty Rhodes elbow, but instead of doing it completely, he did the whole thing where he did the jab and spelled out "Chase You," and then did the elbow itself. And that was Level Up. I would give Level Up like a C-. I thought it was okay. Nothing really all that special. Level Up's pretty much what Main Event was. Pretty much where it's just
I've been saying this for a long time now. I hate the idea of Main Event, and I hate the idea of NXT Level Up. They still have both of them, and I don't know why. I mean,
yeah, it's just
Raw.
Whatever.
Is 3 hours, and for as much complaining as people do about it, the more I think about it, their roster size justifies a 3-hour Raw. I could make the same argument for NXT. Sorry, that was my controller from my computer. I could make the same argument for NXT and SmackDown that they could justify 3 hours. And the biggest argument I have for it is get rid of NXT Level Up and get rid of Main Event. Main Event's still going, right?
I reviewed it today.
Yeah, exactly. That's how uneventful it was. You talked about it. Superstars is done, I think. Right?
It is. It ended the same time 205 Live went on the
Okay, but the point being is that I think it's time NXT Level Up became the 3rd hour of NXT, and Main Event became the 3rd hour of SmackDown.
Yeah.
And what's more than that is you put that 3rd hour on SmackDown, then Triple H lets Tony Khan know he's not screwing around, that he's coming for him. It's basically his way. Yeah, it's basically his way of saying, hey, look, I get that Vince was a little nonchalant about the whole competing thing, but that's not me. You've crashed about my company for too long, and now I'm coming.
Especially he's done it more since I think Triple H has taken over now too. But let's also put this into perspective. If SmackDown gets a 3rd hour, Rampage is done. Rampage is not getting anything. So,
well, it might finally help Tony Khan decide to do what he should have done and turn Rampage into Ring of Honor.
Yeah. But yeah, Chris, I mean, I know what obviously you're going to say. Do you want to see Main Event and Level Up go and have the 3rd hour added to SmackDown and NXT, or do you want to keep Main Event and Level Up?
Not going to watch it, I don't care.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Before we end off, let's do some predictions of what we think is going to happen this week. We have some stuff announced for Raw. They haven't announced a match or anything, but the big ad is Bobby Lashley is looking for vengeance, but they haven't been specific about who he's looking for vengeance for. But if I had to make a guess, actually, Steve, who do you think let's just let you guess first. Who do you think Bobby Lashley is looking for vengeance for? Because that was the big thing they've added to Raw.
Who's he looking for vengeance on?
Yeah, that's the big hype thing they're hyping up.
I would have to guess one of two people: Austin Theory, or Omos.
Oh yeah, that could be a thing.
And I could see. I think it would make more sense for it to be Omos, because then you have MVP come out, and Omos is like, "Oh yeah, there he is. He's going to help me." And it goes over to talk to him while the ref's not looking. MVP whacks him with the cane. Lashley doesn't see it, he's recovering from a slam or something, gets up, spears him, wins. Then he sees the replay, and MVP's like, "Yeah, we're good. Come on, fist bump me." And Lashley just leaves because he's still got to think about it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. What about you, Chris? Who do you think Bobby Lashley's looking for vengeance on?
Himself.
Himself. I need an explanation for that.
I don't know. He's just gonna beat himself up.
He's looking for revenge on Crystal. Back in the day.
He's looking for revenge on
if I had to say he's looking for revenge,
Rollins or Theory, probably. I would have to say.
Yeah, or Adam Pearce, since he suspended
Adam Pearce. He could spear Adam Pearce through a fucking wall if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Scrap Metal Adam Pearce. Wasn't that his nickname? Scrap Metal or something?
Scrap Iron.
Scrap Iron. Such a dumb name. It kind of is.
It is because it's Adam Pearce.
Yeah.
If I had to make a prediction of what I think is going to happen from this, I think Bobby Lashley will come out looking for vengeance on Theory, but I think Steve's idea will happen, where it's going to be Omos and MVP that come out and confront him, and it turns into a match, and they do Steve's idea. I like that idea. So I think it'll be I think he'll look for revenge on Theory, call him out, but instead MVP and Omos come out. Is there anything? Is there anything else you guys think will happen on Raw tonight? Is there any other predictions you have for Raw tonight, Chris?
Seeds planting.
I predict
let's do
that the set will be red.
There you go. That's a good prediction.
I also predict that there's going to be a Triple X logo somewhere.
Oh God, is that tonight?
It's next
week, I think.
Okay.
I predict.
I
think it's next week.
And that is so nice of them to finally give China a tribute show. I mean, good on them.
I predict that we're gonna get more Thug Life stuff with Dominic Mysterio. I think that's a good prediction. Let's do, Chris. Is this something you want to happen on Raw tonight? It doesn't have to be a prediction. It could just be something you want to see happen.
What I want to see is the reuniting of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
But you're not getting it, probably.
Yes. That's what I want to see.
Steve, is this something you want to see happen on Raw tonight?
Not yet.
Okay.
I think what I want to see tonight is a little bit more of the wrestling bandit.
I want to see.
Oh, you gonna say?
I want to see. Let me think. I would like to see them do something with Dolph Ziggler and Mustafa Ali where they team up tonight, and they don't win, but they do something because it looks like they're doing something with Mustafa Ali and Dolph Ziggler. So I would like to see them continue. Or actually, I want to see the Hurt Business reform tonight. I don't think it will happen, but I want to see it happen tonight.
I was about to say that. I wouldn't mind in terms of reuniting the Hurt Business.
Okay. Let's do predictions for it.
Whether or not that happens, we'll see.
Yeah. Predictions for NXT. I believe it's Apollo Crews and Axiom versus Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. I'll just do a prediction for that real quick. I think that's an obvious win for Apollo Crews and Axiom because you have Trick Williams who can easily take the loss and he's not going to be hurt by it all that much. So, does everyone agree with that, or do you think that it's going a different way?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's that. I mean, it's obviously that's going to happen.
What about you, Steve? Do you think that's happening, or do you think Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams will pull off the win?
I think I could see Hayes and Tricky Williams pulling off the victory.
Tricky.
yeah.
Tricky Dicky.
Does anyone want to tell me why Vince is here? Good news, pal. I won. I'm back in creative. From now on, we're just going to call you Sticky Tricky.
Remember that thing they did all that time ago where they tried to make like R-Truth Pretty Ricky or whatever?
I remember when they made it Hey Quick.
Yeah. And then on SmackDown, the only thing they've advertised is the contract signing between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Does anyone have a prediction of what you think will happen in that contract signing?
Physical altercation.
I mean, that's obvious.
Someone's getting their ass beat.
So for that, I'm gonna have to predict that Owens is getting beaten down. He'll tell everyone, "I don't want any backup. Whatever happens, happens." And then in the middle of it is when you have the Judgment Day come out and actually make the save on him. But then they wind up hitting Kevin Owens with something anyway.
Yeah, I think what I actually think will happen, there will be a beatdown because Roman Reigns mentioned this when the match was made. He's going to force Kevin Owens to sign a stipulation that if he loses, he can't challenge Roman Reigns as long as he's champion. Because Roman Reigns says he wants Kevin Owens to go away forever. I think they're going to put that stipulation in effect. Or he'll get the Matt Riddle stipulation.
Yeah, I could see that. And then he turns his attention to the Usos and is like, "Yeah, well, I can still challenge you."
Yep. So that's how you set that up. And you have, obviously, if this stipulation you have Sami Zayn cost Kevin Owens the chance to ever challenge Reigns for the belt again, and he could do a rematch with Zayn and Owens at Elimination Chamber. But that's everything in the terms of WWE. Is there anything else that is on you guys' mind you want to talk about before we end this show? We'll start with you, Chris. Is there anything on your mind right now?
I think we've talked about pretty much everything.
Steve, is there anything on your mind right now?
Nah, nothing. I'm good.
I feel like we could talk about the Tony Khan thing, but I kind of want to wait until more information comes out on that before we talk about it. So,
we've also been doing Khan now.
Huh?
What do you do now?
So pretty much there's reports that Tony Khan could end up buying AEW, and they would merge WWE and AEW.
WWE, you mean?
Yeah. He could buy WWE.
And Tony Khan's gonna buy his own promotion. How about that?
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, Tony Khan could buy WWE, and they do a merger with AEW and WWE, which I would honestly be against that because I know everybody would be critical of it because him buying ROH didn't turn out as everybody wanted it to. But I think this time around it'd be different because he's buying obviously WWE, which is admittedly a bigger company and everything like that. And this time he would have Triple H in the fold too. So I don't think Tony Khan would let I don't think Triple H would let Tony Khan do with ROH what I don't think Triple H would let Tony Khan do to WWE what he's done with ROH and obviously stuff like that.
I'm gonna say Tony Khan's just proven that he cannot handle Ring of Honor. He did one show with it. One show and
actually three.
Is it three now? Oh yeah, that's right. He did two now. Or is it three?
Well, do you count Supercard of Honor because I feel like that show was already made before that show was gonna happen anyways,
that was already made.
So he's done two then.
Really only done two shows and they've both done, in my opinion, they were both better than his pay-per-views. Like AEW. And I kind of tend to think he's probably jealous, which is why he's kind of undermining him.
I think I'll just say this real quick and then we'll end the show. I think the best bet is for Tony Khan just to be the guy. If he does buy WWE and they do a merger, he should just let Triple H. I don't know if Triple H could with everything because of his health and stuff. I would want to make sure that's all sorted out. But I think Triple H would honestly have hands-on creative on everything, ROH, AEW, and WWE. Because I think there would be a massive, and you could do a brand split with WWE and AEW, and even ROH if you wanted to, and all that type of stuff. We did mention what do you do with all the talent and stuff, but I think that's a video that needs to be made we can't just sit down and talk about it right now. That's like a fantasy bookend or something like that. If Tony Khan buys WWE, because I honestly think the best bet is for Triple H to run everything. What do you put everything on time slots and all that type of stuff? I think that's a conversation we should revisit in a future video. So, what about you, Chris? Like, if this does happen, what would you like to see? Would you like to see Tony Khan buy WWE if it does happen, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I think it could be a good thing. It certainly would be better than fucking Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want him to buy it more than Disney. No.
Yeah.
But if he's the one that comes out on top, him and his dad Shad Khan come on top, I'd be happy with it because it stays within wrestling.
I don't know. I just really
the biggest thing that makes me think
know.
it's not going to happen, though. Yeah, the biggest thing I think it's why it's not going to happen is because Vince is the one in charge of the sale, and I wonder if Vince would see it as defeat if he sold WWE to Tony Khan. I feel like Vince would not.
He probably would.
What do you think? But we'll see. But anyhow, that's everything we've have to talk about. We had a lot of stuff because we went 3 hours. We're supposed to be going 2 hours, but now we're going 3 hours. But we had a lot of stuff to talk about. More people on the panel and everything like that. So let's wrap this up. We'll start with Steve. Is there anything you want to plug or promote? I think you only have like one thing to plug or promote.
I got nothing. Just watch Raw tonight. I hope everything goes well, and yeah, that's about it. I don't really have anything.
Well,
just looking forward to Raw tonight.
You have one video solo that I can plug, and that's your years in review of professional wrestling.
That is true. I'm still working on those. I'm trying to get several done so that way I can do a bunch. Then when we stop, I can start doing them again.
I feel bad for you that when you have to do 2023, that's going to be it's totally an interesting year for you because
I got through the 80s, and so I go through it, and then I go through them again, and then I do a brief brush over for that last time to make sure I get all the bullet points. I posted a video. I didn't really like it. I'm not sure if I took it down yet, but I'm redoing the original one, which is going to be covering pretty much everything prior to 1983.
Yeah.
Just because everything prior to that, you can kind of go from this year all the way to this year, all the way to this year. And that's going to be a long special. I'm hoping to get a bunch of people on that. If you have any specific old school wrestling things you want to talk about, I'm always down for that. But I've gotten through that video. Right now I'm brushing over the 80s. And so far it's gone very well.
I feel bad when you have to do 2020. That's going to be a weird year for you to do.
I'll say this though, I'm very much looking forward to getting into the 90s.
Yeah.
The 90s and the 2000s will be when the videos start to get really fun because then it's probably going to come down to months in review.
Yeah. But Chris, is there anything you want to plug or promote?
Anything? Description. That's all I'm going to say.
There you go. As for my stuff, you can check out Retros, Fantasy Bookings, Wrestling Rundowns, and obviously this show, AEW Spark, that Noah does and hosts and stuff like that. And just check out all that stuff. Just go on my channel and watch every single video on it. And I'll see you in 10 years. That's you'll spend the rest of your life on there. So just go do that.
Sounds fair to me.
Huh?
Sounds fair to me.
Yeah. Go watch Steve take people's shoes and try to do flips in the tables and all that type of stuff. So
that's great.
Table's gonna get
it. Or scream fuck as loud as you possibly can.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, just go watch all that. Go watch John do all his impressions and watch Steve be Parachute Man, even though he says he's not. So
I was gonna say right now, as we're speaking, John's doing a pretty good impersonation of Rusev because he's nowhere to be seen.
He was on a retro recently, actually. So,
well, yeah, I'm gonna say that's more a knock at AEW because where the hell is Miro been?
Yeah. Maybe we could ask Rusev's cousin Johnson because he knows. So I wonder if he's got to change that name now because he's not Rusev at the moment. So
Jiro.
But anyhow, that's pretty much it, guys. And,
Brother Nero.
We will talk to you guys later, and since this video is being recorded in the past, we will talk to you guys in the future. Or whatever. I don't know.
Podcast has concluded. Be sure to check out more group discussion as far as WWE content is concerned, and check out more content from For the Win Productions.